soldiers, sailors, and airmen of the Allied Expeditionary Force. You are about to embark upon the great crusade toward which we have striven these many months. The eyes of the world are upon you. The hopes and prayers of liberty-loving people everywhere march with you. The destruction of the German war machine, the elimination of Nazi tyranny over the oppressed peoples of Europe, and security for ourselves in a free world. Your task will not be an easy one. Your enemy is well-trained, well-equipped, and battle-hardened. He will fight savagely. Marching together to victory. I have full confidence in your courage, devotion to duty, and skill in battle. We will accept nothing less than full victory.
Excuse me, and there we go. Dwight Eisenhower's speech for the invasion of on D-Day. It wasn't just before the invasion there. 1 second, sorry, I'm doing too many things at once. Welcome to the News Underground, folks. Yeah, that was a good video. Amazing speech. And, I got a couple D-Day videos here lined up, and unfortunately, D-Day has intersected with modern politics. Leon, welcome back. Borderline Feline. Davey, welcome back. We watched the debates already, Leon. We went through highlights. Yeah, that was really great. So I thought this was a very interesting video where it was kind of like a mixture of... Oh, by the way, I'm Abandoned Nihilism. This is the realest motherfucking news channel on Twitch. We get right into it. We don't waste time. We waste a little time. We have a little fun. Okay? But we're actually here to get something accomplished. And what are we trying to get accomplished? We're actually trying to make the world a better place. Trying to get to that moment of world peace. And yeah, peace sometimes does involve violence. It's paradoxical. But it's true. If the tyrants and dictators and authoritarians of the world, and they do exist, and they are very real, if they were not pushed back upon, we would be enslaved. We would be enslaved. So I could see it. How considerate. Did you just forget the intro? No, you're just late, strategy. You're just late. Late. You already did the intro. Sovereign Dari, still on my shit list. Welcome back. Shit list member, Sovereign Dari. But no, I thought this video was interesting because it's a mix of the old and the new, where it's, Sky News kind of doing their usual map analysis that we've been seeing with Ukraine and Taiwan and China and a bunch of other, geopolitical events. But they're doing it for D-Day. I thought this was a really good video to show because it shows the multitude of forces, because most, just like with that video before, it was like, allies. It doesn't really give you an idea of, all the different countries that were participating in this, including Canada. So let's go ahead and dive into this. So by the way, we're going to be doing a little bit of D-Day, a little bit of Alex Jones, Steve Bannon news, a little bit of Ukraine news, big chunk of Ukraine news. And then we're jumping into Gaza news that we have, of course, because there might be a new front on the war, and I'm and it's interesting because like the person who's in charge benefits the most from the chaos, but nobody else benefits from the chaos. Bibi Netanyahu benefits the most from a continued war, from continued chaos. But he's really the only one. He's really the only one that's benefiting. Everyone else loses. But as long as there's a war, Bibi stays in power. I don't know if that's the case, though, if with a full-blown war with Hezbollah. Yeah, or starting a war with... Is Hezbollah the military in Lebanon, or is the Lebanese government works with Hezbollah, works with Iran through Hezbollah? I don't know. We'll get into it a little bit here. I got some videos queued up. But let's get into the D-Day stuff. Because, no, it was a multitude of countries. They're in the United States, it really, really is easy to get convinced that it was just Uncle Sam that did it, and there were sacrifices made. It was a world war, and there were sacrifices made across the world. So this video kind of gives you a good idea of just how many countries were sacrificing to push back against fascism. And I'd like to remind you that fascism has not been defeated. Fascism was only pushed back. We are currently now having to deal with a resurgence of fascism. It's hard to believe. But yes, characters like Nick Fuentes, characters like Tucker Carlson, characters like Steve Bannon, characters like Donald Trump would like to see a future where these sacrifices are erased. And I'm not being hyperbolic, not in the slightest, not in the fucking slightest. They want to go back to a authoritarian, fascistic future. Of course, it's not going to be, they're not going to be Sieg Heiling and goose stepping. I mean, some will. Characters like Nick Fuentes will, right? But a grand majority of them will just be sensible authoritarians. We know better authoritarians. Let's get into it here.
D-Day, the largest amphibious invasion of all time, and the beginning of the end of the Second World War. 80 years ago, on the 6th of June 1944, more than 150,000 Allied forces from the UK, US and Canada took part in a combined naval, air and land assault, codenamed Operation Overlord, on Nazi-occupied France. Their aim, to make a foothold in Nazi territory to liberate occupied Europe. But hundreds of miles of fortifications known as the Atlantic Wall stood in their way. The operation had been planned for months, and thousands of troops gathered along the south coast of England, waiting for the optimum conditions to launch the invasion. To ensure success, the Allies deployed a series of deception campaigns to fool the Nazis and deflect German resources from the real target, with bombing raids carried out right across northern France. After a day's delay due to unfavourable weather conditions, Operation Neptune, the naval aspect of the invasion, began around midnight of the 6th of June. An hour later, and the first British and American planes flew over Normandy, dropping around 13,000 paratroopers behind enemy lines and attacking key strategic German positions from above. D-Day had begun. Various problems, including navigation, communication, and heavy enemy fire, meant that many of the paratroopers landed off course, leaving scores dead or missing.
Yeah, or landing behind enemy lines during an invasion.
German military leaders were expecting an invasion, but they believed the attacks from the air were only an attempt to divert their attention before an attack further up the coast near to Calais.
Yeah, they were fooled.
The element of surprise helped tens of thousands of British troops to establish a foothold on beaches codenamed Gold and Sword. The Canadian forces themselves had another beach called Juno, and 73,000 Americans arrived in small landing craft on the westernmost beaches of Omaha and Utah.
And you could probably find fictional movies and documentaries that focus on each one of these individual landings. But there is obviously for obvious reasons, there's more analysis on the more bloody landings. There's not, too much, detailed 45-minute documentaries on the totally peaceful landings where they didn't see any resistance.
At Omaha, they were confronted with relentless machine gun and artillery fire. Many of the landing craft became floating targets, with casualties beginning to mount. Those who landed at Utah Beach which had been added as a target at the 11th hour to allow an assault on Cherbourg, were also affected by poor weather. At Gold Beach, British troops faced stiff opposition, but a combination of air support, precise naval shelling, and sheer bravery allowed them to secure a beachhead and push on to capture strategically important locations, allowing the flow
They're
of...
getting ripped apart. And we've all seen, you know, the Tom Hanks movies. We've all seen all the, you know, the dramatizations. I was going through footage trying to find D-Day footage, and there's this one footage of the guy initially from the distance it looks like he just falls down, but they zoom in on it and the guy's leg comes off. You know, the leg comes off, and that was real footage. You know, like, so the dramatizations probably, you know, really don't even give you a good taste of the carnage. You know, you get one perspective. Now imagine that spread across, you know, that entire field, that carnage.
Essential supplies. At Juno Beach, almost half the first wave of Canadian troops were killed or injured. Those that did survive managed to take more territory that first day than the British and Americans. And British forces landing at Sword Beach too faced strong resistance. It took until the afternoon for the paratroopers and commandos to fully take control of their intended target.
Look back, Lizzie.
By the end of the day, Allied forces were holding key areas of northern France's coast. Over the next month, US troops were able to push way inland, creating a safe zone around the port of Cherbourg, where they could then land more men and more equipment. Gradually, they continued pushing through northern France, and within 3 months, they liberated Paris. On D-Day itself, the US Army counted almost 3,500 troops dead or missing, with more than 6,500 more wounded. The Canadians lost 335 men, and almost 1,000 were injured. And while the British Army and Navy did not publish figures, one historian later estimated that around 3,000 had died, gone missing,
back Ford
or
the
been
Perfect.
wounded. Yet, it could have been far worse.
Yeah.
Prime Minister Sir Winston Churchill admitted that he had been expecting the toll to be dire, telling his wife that 10,000 would be killed on that first day. While those three nations were the main driving force of the invasion, it is important to say that a multitude of countries contributed to its enormous success.
That's right. Yeah, no, it's really was, you know, one of the largest invasions. Is it still the largest invasion? You know, it was an incredible collaboration, you know, and it was a successful ruse as well. You know, it was really just bang, 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 bang. It had to go perfect, and it didn't go perfect. No plan ever goes perfect, but it got about as close to perfect as it can get, you know. And I remember there's this one scene in one of these dramatizations where you know, they're really worried about the weather. They're really, you know, he's like, you know, the president can't even sleep. Really worried about the weather, worried about how the weather is going to affect it. And it was a perfect day, you know. Well, or was it? I think it was stormy in some places. I take that back. Clip of the vets hugging Zelensky. Yeah, we actually have that queued up. So, you know, unfortunately, this is intersecting with UK news as well. It's a big scandal right now with Rishi Sunak leaving this event early, that Joe Biden and I think Macron stayed until the very end. And we see Joe Biden here. You know, I mean, look, this is the bare minimum. Do I think Biden cares about veterans? I mean, honestly, there's, you know, the Veterans Affairs, the VA in the United States. I haven't really heard him talk about it much, and I'm pretty sure it's still lacking quite a bit. But we see that quite a bit from U.S. presidents. You know, happy to shake a hand, but, you know, where are you really on Veterans Affairs, Joe Biden? I'd be interested to hear, you know, a non-biased take on what Joe Biden has actually done, you know, actually substantively for veterans during his administration. But at the same time, this is the bare minimum, and it's good to see. So thank you, Joe Biden. You know, the survivors. These were the guys that were like 19, 18, 19. Some of them snuck in 16, 17, 18, 19. You know, Yeah, we're going to get to the Sunak stuff here in a second. But wow, you know, they're carrying around. Look at how young this guy was. You know, getting his ass shredded up. Crazy. Still alive. It's probably, you know, next 10, 15 years, you know, all these guys are going to be gone. You know, so it's really amazing that we still get to see some of these soldiers still standing, you know. And hey, you know, if if China were to invade, I think old boy would pick up a gun. He still got it in him. You know? He can fire off a couple shots. You know, he can still kill a couple invaders. But don't count him out quite yet. So we have this absolutely touching moment with Zelensky and a World War II veteran. So let's go ahead and watch this. Is that the axe? Go.
Prime Minister is busy fighting right now.
No. Oh, you're the savior of the people. Here's my eyes. Got a picture.
Yeah, you want a picture?
Got a picture. Not here.
No, you are out here.
Not here.
Jesus, that's terrible, David.
Only one of you. I pray for you.
I mean, you know, Zelensky's either a world-class Andy Kaufman level style, you know, actor, or he is a real human being, which is like, it's almost unbelievable, you know, that a president, a leader of a country could be human, because it's all so coached, it's all so sheltered, but that's not Zelensky, is it? That's not even close. You know, he really is the right man for this fight. And it's really quite shameful to see the right wing in any country, UK and the United States, not come to their senses on this. I mean, to be so clearly wrong, history is going to be very cruel on these individuals that don't support Ukraine's democracy. You know, with that said, Zelensky, keep the anti-corruption stuff coming, buddy. You got to keep that anti-corruption stuff flowing. Please. Not only for just, you know, for his own optics, but just for, you know, for his own survival. It's playing a tough game, though, Zelensky. He's gonna be pissing off the entire country pretty soon. When he's telling the entire country that we're entering total war after the U.S. election is my prediction. He'll be doing that. Could you throw all of us into pot, please? I'm right wing and fully support Ukraine. Wow, congratulations. You're like literally the only one. It also troubles me that you proudly call yourself right wing. Tells me that you haven't learned jack shit. So yeah, let's get to the debacle. UK, you know, in the UK here. Britain's Rishi Sunak apologizes for leaving D-Day event early to return to campaigning. So I got this amazing interview with a World War II veteran to give us his thoughts. And then I have this amazing James O'Brien interview with someone who's like, oh, come on, man, it's not that big a deal. It's not that big a deal. And James O'Brien putting him right in his place. And look, why does this happen? Because there's a reason why. Because Rishi Sunak is fake as fuck. It really just boils down to that. The man is an actor. He was, you know, groomed probably. He groomed himself or was groomed by, you know, by the people around him in academia or whatever to be this, you know, prime minister type. He's playing a part. And when he talks about Britain and UK and I love this, he doesn't mean any of it. It's hard to believe. It's hard to believe. But no, he doesn't fucking care. people this rich that have been born this rich are cosmopolitan. Okay, let's look up the definition. Including or containing people from many countries. The people who are cosmopolitan don't really consider any one country their home. When you're that rich, when all the options are open to you, you don't have loyalty to your country. You have loyalty to your power, to your status, to your money pile. And Rishi Sunak is cosmopolitan. Silver spoon, golden spoon, fucking mega platinum spoon. Right? So he doesn't understand the importance of this. It's not that big a deal. It's not that big a deal. We saw this with Trump. We saw this with Bush. They're out of touch. And the reason why they make the boneheaded mistakes like this is because they're playing a part. When they talk about patriotism, when they talk about sacrifice, they have no fucking idea they have no connection to that. They are totally separated from it. And if the whole fucking country blows up, Sunak's fine. Right? That's the mentality. That's the mentality. It's not an allegiance to your country, to your nation. It's not patriotism. It's an allegiance to your power and to your money pile. That's why these characters make these mistakes. And he does it so well. He plays this part so he's so well coached. Like he's you know, one of the criticisms is that he's so robotic. But he you know, at the last debates, we analyzed the debates, you know, we went over the highlights, you know, he can emulate a politician really, really well because he's been practicing his whole life. But you know what he hasn't been practicing? You know, trying to formulate policies that, you know, that work for the most amount of people, you know, trying to find a philosophical or ideological definitions for his principles, and really thinking about, you know, politics, and really thinking about, okay, where do I stand, and, you know, where do the people stand, and how do I create a consensus, and how do I make the democracy better and stronger, and, you know, remove corruption and improve checks and balances, et cetera, et cetera. That's all the shit he's not thinking about. And honestly, I don't know why, but everywhere you go, there's this assumption that politicians are politicking and not power maneuvering and spinning and lying and grifting. And I'm not saying all politicians bad, of course. There's nuance and variation. But they do such a good job. They're so convincing. They're such good actors. You know, it's kind of like watching professional wrestling. You know, like, damn, dude, he's really flipping in the air. You know, he's really corkscrewing and fucking slamming, and, you know, there's a lot of physicality behind that theater. Ultimately, you know, something's up. You're like, okay, well, this character was actually meant to lose, and that kind of stuff. No, I'm not saying that. I'm not saying the fucking, you know, I'm going off on a tangent. I'm not saying shadowy. I'm not going that far. I think that shit's bullshit. No, I wish society was run by a bunch of fucking mega geniuses, you know, who are like pulling the strings. That would assume some kind of control. That would assume that some entity is in some kind of control. No, it's actually more frightening to think about the fact that this is greed and individual selfishness and avarice and corruption run amok. It's chaos. Thank you for that follow, Seraphic Beam. Should we be scared? Seraphic, is that a threat? Should we be scared? What are you going to do? What's going to happen to Russia the moment they launch a motherfucking nuke, huh? Rainbows and sunshine in Moscow? You think that's what's going to happen? There's no amount of nuclear weapons that could be fired. They could fire every single fucking one of them. Not scared. It's a major escalation. No, it isn't. It's intimidation. He does this all the time. He shuffles the missiles all around all the time. Now, the Cuba thing is kind of, okay, you know what? I take it back. Seraphic. I take it back. I mean, because the Cuba thing is triggering for the United States, right? We're still sanctioning Cuba because we don't like that they're commies. We got our fucking death camp over there. We got our little, you know, black site over there, Guantanamo Bay. Yeah, for the perfect. Now, I live right next to Vancouver. I'm in one of the hot zones. If there's a real legitimate World War III nuclear war, I am super close to one of the, you know, #1 targets. I mean, okay, the Cuba thing is provocative. I will say that it is provocative. But I'm not. Am I worried about nuclear war? No. No. In their gross incompetence, they may actually do something. No, you know, so, you know, I don't think the Russian military would listen to Putin if Putin says, you know, Sieg Heil, fire the nuke. They'd be like, no, you've gone too far, dude. That's when the coup happens. Welcome back, Kissing Gonzo. Welcome back, ROB. No, I'm not worried about World War III. I'm not. Because of mutually assured destruction. Okay? World War II was right at that moment where the nuclear weapon changed everything, right? That was the crescendo of World War II. You know, was this beginning of the new destructive, the new era of mutually assured destruction. And of course, on top of the nukes, we have conventional weapons that can do almost just as much damage without the radiation. You know, the destructive nature of modern weapons has gotten to such a point that the next world war, if it does happen, means the end of the economy. You don't get to like come back from it. There will be countries that are completely annihilated and conquered and destroyed, or become wastelands. It'll be, and all that big destruction will happen probably pretty quickly, and then there'll be like this grueling World War I. You know, the scraps being fought over. All right, but let's get back to the Sunak stuff here. He's out of touch. He's rich. He doesn't fucking get it. That's what I was trying to get at. That's why he can make these boner mistakes. Let's hear what an actual World War II veteran has to say. Would you be surprised that he's fucking pissed?
What can you say? They're politicians. They're politicians. I don't have a great regard for politicians.
But yesterday, the American president, the German chancellor, the French president, they all stayed to the end. And our prime minister left early. And I wonder
because he's electioneering.
Yeah, because he's got an election. But as a British veteran, what does that say to you? What's your emotions about it?
I think he lets the country down.
There you go.
You know, it's not representation of how we're trying to weld things together to keep a peace. I mean, it's bad enough with Putin coming and the Chinese possibly doing it in not necessarily in warfare, but in other forms. And what are we doing? We bail out, let them get on with it.
Yeah.
Because I want to stand in the election, I want my seat back.
Yeah.
You've got some of the world's most powerful people, presidents from America, France, Germany, Prime Minister of Britain. They've all come here to pay tribute.
Yeah. Well, how soon or long before they forget?
Yeah.
Are we a 5-minute wonder? It'll all be forgotten next week. I don't know.
Right. So this, I mean, that tells me that this guy's plugged in. You know, this guy's really plugged in. He's paying attention because he's like, yeah, I mean, here I am, you know, I sacrificed everything and I lived. And I've lived long enough to see the zeitgeist completely forget, seemingly. And we're seeing, like, you know, this is the era of the dictator, it seems. The democracy across the globe, Western democracy, is being challenged. And we're really not meeting that challenge. We're kind of sleeping on it. Now, that doesn't mean, democracy is not negotiable and, we start invading countries and all this, but it does mean, if we want to keep our democracies, the ones that we currently have, they're being challenged right now. Thankfully, in the UK, I will say, as bad as the Tory party is, and they're abysmal, they're not actively trying to change the rules to, to make them a permanent, fixture, make it impossible to democratically remove them. They are still able to be shamed. It seems they are literally still able to be shamed, which is I'm jealous. I'm jealous of that because there's the shameless era in the United States. These Republican this Republican Party, there's no more limit. They've removed the limits. They're happily and shamelessly changing whatever rules and laws they can electorally that will allow them to stay in power forever. And, I think people still think I'm being hyperbolic. I think people, and they really don't get it. So I really feel this guy's frustration because I really, I look out the window and it's like people really don't get it that, that this fragile shit can go away so quickly. Just got a relationship today. Why World War III? Seraphic, you're fine. Seraphic, do me a favor. Instead of fretting about World War III and throwing your hands up, and I'm not saying you do this, maybe you don't, but instead of giving up, recontextualize it. It's not World War III, but you are needed. The clarion call sings to you, Seraphic. What I need you to do is participate in political activism. I need you to follow my 3-step program to create political change. Step 1, inform yourself. You're at the News Underground. Congratulations on completing step 1. You found real news. Step 2, join a progressive political organization in your area. And step 3, put in the work. I need you to actually do something. Volunteer. Make some calls. Donate some money. Ask yourself, Seraphic, what am I doing to create political change? It'll be fine. No. As Howard Zinn says, you cannot be neutral on a moving train. And let me tell you something. You are on a train barreling over the tracks. The fucking tracks aren't there. And you're doing 90. So do something about it. Final bit of video here on this. This was a fascinating little clip here. Little 4-minute thing. And actually... well, I mean, no, we get to hear from another D-Day veteran. I don't want to skip a D-Day veteran that we might not have the privilege of hearing from even next year. So let's go ahead and hear this whole clip, including the segment where the D-Day veteran speaks. So let's go ahead and get to it. Trust me, this is worth it. The ending is an absolute fucking slam dunk, slam banger, motherfucker. Damn. That's what it is, dude. I love it. Trust me. Stick to the end on this one. You will be satisfied. If you like to hear idiots, partisans, get their shit pushed in.
To say.
I'd like to say, James, that I think the media. I don't want to get too personal because I don't want to direct it specifically towards you. But I think a lot of the media are being dishonorable.
I mean, Lizzie, I'm not going to disagree with you, but also. Lizzie, do you agree that it would be shameful for them not to acknowledge this anniversary, not to acknowledge this day, and not to talk about how important it is to fight fascism, to fight against tyranny? Even if it is hypocritical, it's at least these hypocrites are being forced to say something hypocritical. I believe, Macron talking about, liberty and freedom and all. It's a joke, right? Joe Biden talking about liberty and freedom. Meanwhile, the Palestinians are languishing. So I get what you're saying, but wouldn't it be more shameful if they were not held to account and did not feel like they even had to acknowledge the sacrifices of these heroes? You know what I mean?
Themselves here. I'd like to say,
Matthew, what would you like to say?
I'd like to say, James, that I think the media. I don't want to get too personal because I don't want to direct it specifically towards you. But I think a lot of the media are being dishonourable themselves here. I think you're...
Well, Seraphic, it sounds like you understand the issue. It sounds like you're informed. So it sounds like you are well aware of how important political activism is in creating progressive change. So hopefully you are also spending some time out of your incredibly busy life, sacrificing, donating some time towards the progressive cause, whatever form that is. Whatever, there's thousands of political organizations that you could join. March in the streets. You could do, something even simpler. There's thousands of different activities you can make. Surely you understand the importance of political activism and why you need to participate, right?
Trying to use anything you can.
That's it.
Matthew, what would you like to say?
I'd like to say, James, that I think the media, I don't want to get too personal because I don't want to direct it specifically towards you. But I think a lot of the media are being dishonourable themselves here. I think you're trying to use anything you can to get at Rishi Sunak, and I think it's dishonourable that you're trying to use the D-Day celebration to do it. I served myself. I did 2 tours of Afghanistan. So I think I have a voice here, and I think you're using it.
Well, I understand your point, but speaking of voices, I'm just going to let you hear what some veterans in Normandy at the moment had to say about it earlier this morning.
I've lost all faith in him because they're all our fallen.
And you're getting upset about that?
Yeah.
And some of you were telling me earlier you're Conservatives normally, and does this upset you?
This debacle yesterday, that was outrageous.
Yeah.
But, what can you do? It is what it is.
And Tom, RAF veteran, what do you think?
Well, I think he should have stopped there and saw the shore out.
To leave a service early, I think, is very disrespectful, especially for our lost comrades, and the veterans who are at the service must feel a bit let down. I mean, it's just not on.
Yeah.
But I find that's quite a lot with many politicians because they haven't served in the armed forces, so they don't realise the loss that we feel.
Okay.
Therefore, I think what he did was very, very disrespectful.
You put the others.
So, this was the interview from Nick Ferrari, and I do have to mention that the part that was cut out was one of these guys was kind of making excuses for Rishi. It's not that bad. It's not that bad. So even a World War II vet can be infected with partisanship, I mean. And they made the ultimate sacrifice, they didn't make the ultimate sacrifice, but they got, they could have. They were right there. They were in the shit of it. Maybe. I mean, who knows where the position was, but let's not get into specifics. They were there, okay? But even he was like, it's being unfair, it's being unfair. But that part was cut out because this was from that Nick Ferrari interview on LBC. But what you tell me if you agree with the caller here who it's unfair. He made his point is that it's basically unfair that the media is talking about this, and I see conservatives do this quite a bit where, it's like with mass shootings, right? Like Ted Cruz, just walks out of a gun conference the day before, and then a massive mass shooting happens in his state, and he has to be like, oh well, now's not the time to politicize, and now's not the time to talk about it, and let's not talk about this when it's really relevant, and it makes me look really, really bad. It's kind of a scummy conservative topic because when the shoe's on the other foot, they don't shut up, do they? They don't shut up when there's a legitimate scandal. Hunter Biden until you motherfucking crystallize into stone. You know what I mean? So it's hypocritical. And to shout, oh, unfair, oh, you can't talk about this, oh, you're piling on. No, it's totally fair. And like I said, if the shoe is on the other foot, if Keir Starmer left early, do we think Rishi Sunak wouldn't be 24/7, wouldn't be doing LBC interviews? Oh, it's so shameful, so shameful, so shameful, so shameful. Are we kidding ourselves here?
Side of the argument, Matthew.
Yeah, so, I mean, I think, no disrespect, but a lot of the media that are jumping all over
I'm talking about them. I'm talking about them because what the media has done in this case is give them a voice.
Well, no, of course, everybody's entitled to a view, and my view is the alternate one.
Yes.
And in this case, I'm saying that I think you're using it to punch him in the face continuously.
But what about them? What do they do? What do they do?
No, not punch him in the face continuously. Oh, no, my baby boy. Last time I checked, this is fucking politics. And he's the fucking prime minister. Okay? What? Oh, we're supposed to protect, we're supposed to baby coddle our precious prime minister. Oh, no. Oh, no, he's wearing no pants. Don't tell him.
Doing.
Well, at the end of the day, that's their view. They're entitled to say that if they want to, but I disagree with them. I do profoundly disagree with what they're saying, and I respect their service.
Which bits do you disagree with? So, I mean, what words would you use to describe the decision to go home early?
I would say the decision was wrong.
So what do you disagree with?
He's apologised.
Well, you heard. We've just listened to his apology. We've just listened to his apology. He didn't say.
He's right.
He didn't.
Judge him on his record.
Okay.
Judge him on his record.
What would
That's my view.
What would we look at first?
So the story is about him leaving early, but we shouldn't really focus on that. Just maybe dryly talk. Say it as a headline. Rishi Sunak left early from D-Day. Anyway, let's go over Rishi Sunak's manifesto. Boy, that's the world that I would like, says the partisan. Fucking ridiculous.
I would say look at the fact that what he said about the Veterans Affairs and the minister in cabinet under him, that's a fantastic move to put somebody in that place, especially Johnny Mercer being involved in it. It's fantastic. He's really got involved.
But Johnny Mercer has said that it was a terrible mistake that Rishi Sunak.
Yeah, I've said it's a mistake, but he's apologised.
So what are you disagreeing? So you're saying we should just move on then because he's apologised?
I'm saying you shouldn't continually pound him in the face continuously for the next 3 days over it or the next 24 hours.
Why not?
He's apologised. It's a mistake.
Because it makes me look really bad. How do I defend this? I can't defend this. I want to stay Tory. Please, Rishi. Thank you for that follow, Prognit.
Why not?
We move on. Because he's apologised.
No, but why not?
Because he's apologised. He said he made a mistake, and I think that's fair enough.
But why shouldn't the story continue to be reported for the next? What are you worried about?
Because that's how it works with conservative media, right?
So why don't you want the story to be reported then continuously?
Because he's apologised, and he's
I know that he's apologised, and we also report the apology. So why not carry on reporting?
So now leave it alone.
No.
Well, that's your call.
Thanks. And that was yours.
I love it. One more time in case you didn't catch it.
What are you worried about? Story continue to be reported for the next. What are you worried about?
I'm not worried about it.
So why don't you want the story to be reported then continuously?
Because he's apologised, and he's
I know that he's apologised, and we also report the apology. So why not carry on reporting?
So now leave it alone.
No.
Well, that's your call.
Thanks. And that was yours.
Well, he apologized, so stop talking about it, even though it's really damaged. So it's so damaging to his image. Please stop talking again. Stop. No. Well, that's your call. Well, that's your call then. Yeah, it is, bitch. Bye. Next. Welcome to free speech land. Welcome to consequences land, Tory partisan. Well, it sucks that you guys are talking about mistakes that he made, blatant mistakes that make him look bad. That sucks. Stop talking about it. No. No. How about no? How about no? I love it, dude. James O'Brien, huh? Motherfucking badass, dude. Absolute badass. Johns. But we got to talk about this. I'm just going to keep the applause going because, ladies and gentlemen, we fucking got him, dude. We fucking got him. Pop the fucking champagne corks, dude. I'm not joking. Listen to this. Breaking, Alex Jones agrees to liquidate his assets to pay for Sandy Hook families and move that would end his ownership of InfoWars. Fucking yes. Fucking yes. Now, because there are bad actors, I need to clarify my stance on free speech and clarify my stance on media. And, you know, I have no problem with grifting, lying maniacs forming entire media operations that are, you know, basically lie factories. I'm okay with that. That's free speech. What I'm not okay with is stochastic terrorism and things that are not considered free speech, like libel. Making up stories out of whole cloth that then lead to that person's life being materially, you know, degraded because of those lies. Stochastic terrorism and sorry, there's a lot of noise happening in my house. It's really hard to think right now. But libel and stochastic terrorism are not covered under free speech. So if you're a media organization, look, you want to say Hillary Clinton had a bat baby, and like we had an interview with the bat baby, who's, you know, Hillary Clinton's son, secret son, you know, she had with with Saddam Hussein. You know, you want to be the Inquirer. Okay, that's America, baby. That's America, baby. You know, that's free speech. You know, you want to be the Onion. You know, maybe that's a better example. But you want to ruin people's lives, and look, I gotta, you know, if you don't believe Sandy Hook was real, I encourage you. I say this every time Sandy Hook is brought up. I encourage you to type into Google Sandy Hook police report, and I would like you to read the police report of the cops who sifted through the pile of dead children. It was literally a pile of dead children that was barricaded into the bathroom when that murderer opened fire on them. So I would like you to read that police report and then get back to me and tell me how it's still fake, how it's a fabrication. It's just beyond the pale. What Alex Jones, it's stochastic terrorism because Alex Jones didn't say, what I want you to do is go harass those parents. What I want you to do is go harass them. What he did was, you know, the Tiller the baby killer style, you know, kind of insinuation. Stochastic terrorism, right? They're faking it. They're crisis actors. You know, they're grifting. Look, they're getting a career. They're becoming famous, and they're trying. You know, they're part of a cabal that's trying to institute gun. You know, trying to remove your gun rights using these incidents. Even though Barack Obama didn't do a goddamn thing. Barack Obama didn't do a fucking thing after Sandy Hook. There was literally never a single shred of evidence to support this gun-grabbing hysteria from the right. You put one regulation on it, it's a slippery slope. You start banning bump stocks, and then all of a sudden, we can't have water guns. What are you gonna do? Ban a water pistol? Liberal. Yeah, no, we're not talking about banning water pistols. We're talking about banning, you know, fucking extended magazines for weapons of war. They're not weapons of war. The gun company classified it as civilian. Okay, so this civilian M4 that can fire the same fucking rounds that they fight, you know, 5.56 or whatever. Oh, there's a difference. There's a difference. It's not Full Metal Jacket, so it's not military. Yeah, so those bullets can still rip through human beings, right? Oh, all day, man, like a fucking motherfucker. Okay. Right. I love it when gun nuts are like, you don't know what you're talking about. So then I ask the gun nut, okay, if I provided you with a detailed list of the assault weapons that I would like to regulate and ban, would you then approve? No, of course not. No, of course not. And it's okay. So it doesn't really matter what you're saying. It doesn't, you know, you're just trying some kind of gotcha. But anyway, celebrate, dude. Pop a fucking champagne cork. This motherfucker going down hard. Going down hard. And he's we showed the clip of him crying. I have it on. I'm going to be uploading a bunch of stuff to the social media, a bunch of clips. So if you want to see that clip of Alex Jones crying and me talking about it, make sure you check out the TikTok, because I'll be uploading that after the stream is up. Here's the link tree right here if you want to check out the highlights, funny clips. We got the link tree right there. Make sure you check out the YouTube clip channel if you want. Oh, I already uploaded the Alex Jones one? Oh, okay. Well, it's there. So, speaking of assholes, we got another one to talk about. And it's another absolute banger, dude. It gets fucked, dude. This is great. So look, I've done a lot of criticizing of the January 6th committee and their failure to really, they collected a lot of really good evidence, but their failure to really do anything substantive. And for a while there, it did seem like Steve Bannon was going to get away with it. I mean, it's just, this system takes so long, I guess, to work through it. But the reason why he's going to jail is because he was subpoenaed to show up to the January 6th committee and be interviewed. And he could have lied his way through it. He could have, he could have blustered his way through it. I know, Tisrael. Welcome back, by the way. I mean, there's so many assholes to talk about. They keep popping up. Like that ass planet on Rick and Morty. They're just everywhere. You think it's a mountain, but it's an ass. Well, this is a mountain of an ass. This, Steve Bannon is really one of, what I consider one of the smart fascists. The most dangerous type of fascist. I would say Tucker Carlson would be another smart fascist, a person who's well aware of the game that they're playing. Charlie Kirk, another good example of a smart fascist. Matt Gaetz, good example of a smart fascist. Welcome back, Woke Patriot. Speaking of assholes. No. I would be nothing without this wonderful chat. The News Underground is a source of information because of this chat room that we've created. Chat room? What the fuck is this? AOL? Oh my god. Yeah, I faxed my login details to AOL and they will get back to me with mimeograph. Opinions are like assholes. They smell delicious. Reminds me of that right-wing bad actor that we get in once in a while, armed with my opinions. Oh. That's a parody account. That has to be a parody account, that armed with my opinions guy. Because he just comes in and he's like, I love fascism. It's just, just outlandish takes. It's like, no, he doesn't directly say I love fascism. He's very overt. But no, back to King Mountain asshole Steve Bannon. Sorry about the diversions here. But, like I was saying before, I wasn't impressed with the January 6th committee. We watched every single one. We watched the boring ones and we watched the ones that were, primetime broadcast. They even changed the broadcast time on one of them because that was when Casey Hutchinson was that when she made that statement about how Donald Trump attacked his driver, right? Because he was like, no, sir, because Donald Trump wanted to get out of the car and lead the march, right? Lead the march to the cat. He wanted to get out and do a whole thing. And the Secret Service was like, no. So he starts getting physical with the Secret Service like an actual toddler. So that was the big broadcast one. But anyway, Steve Bannon should have showed up and he could have lied his way through it like he normally does. But he wanted to be a tough guy. He wanted to be like, this, I'm not afraid of the deep state. They can do whatever they want. I'm not going to respect them. I don't respect these laws. My intention is to completely transform this country and the justice system. I'm trying to destroy all this. I have no respect for this system whatsoever. So it was really insulting when it seemed like he was going to get away with that. Like, is this guy actually untouchable? And of course, famously, he was pardoned by Donald Trump in one of the final days of his presidency. So I think he felt a little invincible, but that is not the case. The long arm of the law, no one's going to accuse it of being swift, but it does appear to be somewhat more consistent. We got 34 felony guilty counts, on Trump. Alex Jones going down in flames, right? And here we got, fucking Jack Daniels himself over here, whiskey-soaked fascist Steve Bannon, his decisions to avoid his subpoena getting punished. And I'm sure his show, The War Report, where he was like, I'm above the law. I'm sure clips of that was used to put the nail in his coffin. So don't you love seeing these fascists get nailed to the wall with their own words? The FBI got all activated when they found out how much COVID money was stolen. Okay.
And we're going to go all the way to the Supreme Court if we have to, but I want to say something specifically about the Justice Department. Merrick Garland, Lisa Monaco, the entire Justice Department. They're not going to shut up Trump. They're not going to shut up Navarro. They're not going to shut up Bannon, and they're certainly not going to shut up MAGA. If you look right here, you reporters, in the 2.5 or 3 years we've been here, look at the rise of MAGA, look at the rise of Donald Trump. If the election was held today, according to Harry Evan over at CNN, President Trump would win in a landslide. All of this, besides the
I love these what about arguments. They are so used to talking to the rubes in their audience. It sounds like a cogent argument to them. This is a court of law, sir. Okay, and I need to keep saying this, and I've shown lawyers making this point. By the way, there was that TikTok clip where I showed that 40-year fucking career lawyer making this point. You do not get to go into a court of law and say, and throw out a what about this or what about that, and MAGA's resurgent and we're really popular, and okay, that's totally irrelevant to your case. That is 100%. It's like it's immediately taken off the table because it's not even a discussion about what's even happening, and they're so used to that arena where they get away with these rhetorical tricks. It makes them look so naive, quite frankly, and silly. But when you think about the audience that's listening, the people that he's actually talking to, it makes more sense. The people in the chat, it sounds ridiculous. It sounds absurd. But to his audience, it's feeding them. It's like little, fish flakes in the aquarium, right? It's feeding them what they want to hear, right? This reinforcement that it's fake. It's a big lie. The whole thing, a big, massive fucking, the biggest conspiracy ever, fuck 9/11, right? The biggest conspiracy ever produced, right? This massive, unfair, unjust, no evidence destruction of the most fascistic and authoritarian elements, of this extreme MAGA movement, right? It's all a big conspiracy. That's what that needs to be reinforced. Because like once you build a foundation on these lies. You know what I mean? You build a whole foundation on these lies, and then of course you're attaching your personality to it, right? We're talking about these conservatives, these people that are like, ride or die Republicans, right? They've built this whole house of lies on this foundation, right? So it needs to be reinforced at all times. Steve Bannon, Donald Trump understands this. They, the right-wing grifters are starting to catch up to this. The never Trumpers, they'll never get it. But the MAGA, they've realized, no, like the only way this works is as long as we don't go, okay, you got me. All right, okay, all right, truth time. Okay, let's do the truth now. As long as you never acknowledge that, as long as you have, of course, it requires this media apparatus, right, to buttress this and hold it all up. But as long as you keep that buzz going, that narrative going, there will be millions of rubes who have built their entire personality and their entire house of lies that depend on the fish flakes. They need this reinforcement that this is fake and it's cabal and it's all against. It's the deep state coming at it. It's Joe Biden and Hunter Biden's penis is so big and I don't even know what to do about it. it needs to be reinforced, or else the whole thing collapses. And like, if you want to see an example of what that looks like, look at QAnon, right, where the breadcrumbs stopped, the feeding frenzy ended, and then the edifices started cracking, and the foundation started cracking. Yeah, Tisrael, you know, about that. Yeah, I mean, that's you know, where Goebbels would have, you know, Goebbels would have pissed his pants at a character like Steve Bannon over here, because, you know, Goebbels was like a hammer, you know, pounding on an anvil. Okay, Steve Bannon, he's tickling the anvil, right? He's playing with the anvil. It's a different game. It's a different game than just, you know, slick propaganda repeated over and over and over and over and over again. That's part of it, repeating those messages, repeating those talking points, but it's not the same, right? And characters like Steve Bannon, you could consider them a Goebbels 2.0. They've reinvented this game, and he's fully aware. If he came out and said, you know, okay, you know, I'm busted, there was any kind of mea culpa whatsoever, even any acceptance whatsoever that this is legitimate in any kind of way, the whole thing explodes. Like, the whole house blows up. Okay, so let's finish it up.
Major legal issues that have to be addressed. All of this is about one thing. This is about shutting down the MAGA movement, shutting down grassroots conservatives, shutting down President Trump. Not only are we winning, we are going to prevail. And every number and every poll shows that. There's nothing that can shut me up, and nothing that will shut me up. There's not a prison. There's not a prison. There's not a prison built. There's not a prison built or a jail built that will ever shut me up.
In the back.
All victory to MAGA. We're going to win this. We're going to win at the Supreme Court, and more importantly, we're going to win on November 5th in an amazing landslide with the Senate, the House, and also Donald J. Trump back as President of the United States.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, okay, you fucking idiot. On your way to jail, you piece of shit. Fuck you. That's my message to Steve Bannon. Fuck you. Fuck you. I don't know. Does he even have enough money to get the rich guy jail? Or is he just going to the fucking pen? Is he going to the general population? I sure hope they throw you in there. I've said this before, and I'll say it again. It'll be the best goddamn thing that's ever happened to him in terms of his health. For the first fucking time in his life, he won't be ingesting alcohol. You know, he's going to be going through some withdrawals, man. Fuck you, Steve. Fuck you, Steve. And, you know, once again, the American justice system is so, look at, you know, situations like OJ, look at situations like Kyle Rittenhouse, etc., etc. There's so many miscarriages of justice, so much obvious bias in the justice system. And, you know, with characters like Merrick Garland, and for the last 3 years, it's felt like none of these guys are going to get in trouble, any of them. But no, we're getting some convictions, man. We're getting some conviction. Now, of course, the big elephant in the room is, of course, the Supreme Court, who is deliberating on whether presidents are kings. They kick the can down the road till after the election. You would think that's a total slam dunk. It's like, you know, is America a democratic experiment, or are we an extension of the British Empire? Oh, well, gee, I don't know. I'll have to think about it. The highest court in the land that interprets the Constitution has to, oh, gee, that's a tough one. Is it? That's a tough one? Are presidents kings or not? Ooh, I don't know. Better wait till after the election on that one. What? So there we go. That's my thoughts on Steve Bannon and the American justice system. Not too bad. We don't need to watch this shit. MSNBC. They go over the whole thing, but, you know, it's just, I don't know. You know, tea spilling. It's a lot of tea spilling happening on MSNBC. If you want to watch it, it's right there. Fuck it. Moving on. Folks, we got a Boeing watch. It's Boeing watch time. Boeing watch. Boeing watch. Boeing watch. Ongoing segment, America's favorite segment, talking about these I don't know. I don't know what to say, man. Look, something's going on. Okay, this is a much bigger scandal that the media is not talking about because Boeing's connections to the United States. The United States relies on Boeing. Boeing relies on the United States. It's a symbiotic relationship. You know, it's kind of like Freddie Mac, Fannie Mae kind of situation, right? You know, a public, private kind of thing. Boeing is strictly a private entity, but its dependence on the U.S. government and vice versa is a very unique and special relationship. So we're seeing the media kind of, I don't know, but that's weird. What a coincidence that is. Anyway, wow. How about the, you know, I was talking about the Good Morning America segment, talking about how, oh, wow, Memorial Day travel has never been higher, record high, amazing. And they don't mention, you know, any of the scandals, any of the crazy shit that's been happening with Boeing. But here we have, you know, every week it seems, almost every stream, there's a new update. Another Boeing whistleblower comes forward over safety concerns. And yeah, no, watch your fucking back. We don't know what's going on. Look, so far, we went over the suicide note from the guy who killed himself in the parking lot. I didn't buy it. I'm sorry. I'm not buying it. I don't mean to be conspiratorial on this because I don't have a lot of proof. Yeah, well, it's a New World Order. It's actually Hunter Biden. It was actually Hunter Biden proof. In fact, it was a gay frog associated with Hunter Biden. He associated the it was all about the documents. Look, and Donald Trump was holding on to the documents because he didn't want the world to know about the real truth. But really, we only have two. We really only have two. And that's not enough for me to go, okay, something really fishy is going on. I think the bigger scandal is the fact that, you know, the new ownership that took over from 10, 15 years ago or whatever has lowered the standards and lowered the bar on safety. And these brand new Boeing planes are getting put in the air. Panels are popping off. We're seeing firmware updates fail on older planes. We're seeing, you know, and the reason why this shit is happening is it's the classic, you know, do we really need this safety check? Do we really need to, you know, okay, if we did this, we would save $50 million. Then I get 10 million of that in my bonus because daddy thinks I'm a good boy. I'm a smart businessman. I cut. Right? This is why this is why businessmen are actually absolutely terrible politicians, right? Governments aren't supposed to be making profit, but anyway. You know, it's the only trick in the book. Oh, well, I cut a bunch of safety staff and the quarterly reports were great. Man, the numbers went all the way up. Wow, daddy says I'm smart. That's what I'm really worried about is the safety standards, the goddamn, you know, and Boeing, of course, almost like every commercial flight you get on, a Boeing 750 fucking something. 760, 780, you know, Dreamliner. 787 was the one that the panel popped off. Brand fucking new plane. Goddamn Cybertrucks flying around up in the sky. Fucking falling out of them bitches. What's not happening that bothers me is a full-blown audit of every Boeing airplane. Because it would cost trillions. And possibly put Boeing out of business. But if you've been following this like I've been following this, I don't want to get on the goddamn planes, man. Straight up. It's not anomalous. They intentionally and actively, that's what these whistleblowers are talking about, okay? We gotta listen to these people. They intentionally and actively lowered the safety standards, lowered the inspections, lowered the quality of the parts so they can put money in their pockets and then they get interviewed by Forbes. Because they're geniuses. Oh, yeah, we lowered the standards and cut a bunch of wages and cut a bunch of essential things. And, yeah, we made a lot of money. Isn't that cool? Wow, genius. Wow, how do you do it? Isn't that amazing? Wow. They got a whole little ecosystem for themselves. Little fucking jerk-off sessions with their fucking magazines and their, you know, Fortune 500 bullshit. You know? See, they'll do these 4 or 5 page epic fucking interview with Boeing CEO and not mention this, one paragraph. Oh, there's been some trouble. Yeah, we've addressed those issues, and those are some challenges in the business. Anyway, let me tell you about the immense profit I made from Michelle. Watch out, man. The fucking Boeing watch. There you go. We'll do another one. Yeehaw, boy. Fun time over. Fun time over. No, unfortunately, we do have to talk about this, and I'm just going to remove this flag just so that people aren't confused when I show this video. Not that any of these people might be gay or that it's bad. I don't want to confuse people, but I will be bringing the flag right back. I have the flag up, of course, because it's Pride Month. I have several stories here. We're going to start off with our Ukraine news, talking about the pain and suffering that the Ukrainian people are going through, and the immense sacrifice that the Ukrainian frontline soldiers are going through, men and women. And I don't mean to be sexist here, but I mean, it's one thing to be a male POW, and we'll see that there's sexual violence against the males as well. That's the next story. But there's got to be that extra level of fear if you're a woman, especially a woman who, looks cute, looks pretty, it's hard to really fathom. So we're going to watch this video here, and if it is triggering for the next 30 seconds, I apologize if this is triggered. If you want to look away, that you're not going to see any blood and guts. We're only going to see what Russia does to its POWs, starves them, puts them in dungeons. And the main reason why I'm showing this is because we get a lot of people in the chat, and I also see characters like Scott Ritter and Richard Wolf still making excuses, still making false equivalence arguments. Oh, well, there needs to be some compromise. There needs to be some compromise. Yeah, borderline feline. It's absolutely happening. Sexual violence is less about the sexual gratification and more about the power. But we see these sycophants. We see these people still, both sides. We gotta come to some, and it is not both sides. Russia, when it sends a salvo of missiles to hit military targets, they make sure a couple of them are aimed at apartment buildings and other civilian areas. We just saw Russia intentionally attack a hypermarket. What did you call it? It's an amazing, super cool name for a market. And Putin knew civilians were there, and he intentionally targeted. Ukraine has never done that once. Never intentionally targeted a civilian location. Have missiles been shot down? Yes. We even had that insane case in Poland where that Polish farmer caught a missile. One in a trillion, dude. I mean, just an absolute, the worst luck in the world for that Polish farmer. But has Ukraine intentionally done buchas and gone after markets? No. It's just a supermarket. Why was it called hypermarket? It was like hypermarket or something. Anyway, trigger alert. Trigger alert. We are going to watch this. Let's get to it. I just want to pause for a second so we can get a good look. You can see the muscle degradation. This is true starvation. This is a body that is barely holding on. Another case here. He's not sucking his stomach in. Look at that. That's what Russia does to you. This one's a little harder to tell because he's he was given a coat, and this looks like an image that was fresh off the prison, after the exchange, fresh off the bus. They give him fruit and give him watermelons and things that they don't get in Russia. But you can see just from the face here, And look, Ukraine doesn't do this to Russian POWs. Ukraine does not do this to Russian POW, even the worst of the worst. Ones, POWs that they absolutely know, did some bad stuff to Ukrainian soldiers or even Ukrainian civilians. They still don't starve them. So here's the woman from this image here, and it's a little harder to tell. But, I mean, I don't know what's going on with the eyes, if she was beat or if it's sleep deprivation or if it's nutrition-based. But maybe she's just been crying because she's been released. But I don't even dare imagine the horrible things that were, either said to her or done to her under Russian captivity. Use your imagination. Here we see here. We don't know if these are, from the battle, but we can see, once again, starvation. Who knows what they're feeding them. Another example right here. You can see 90 pounds, wet and wearing boots. Disgusting stuff. And here's another image right here of their kangaroo court, where they're found guilty. He looks like Simon Pegg now. Oh no. No, so terrible stuff. And for me, the reason why I show these images is to remind us why we support this. Look, there's I don't support what Israel is doing to Palestine. I didn't support what the United States did to Iraq and Afghanistan. I don't support what the United States is currently doing to Cuba. I don't support the United States meddling in Syria, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. It's kind of a broken clock syndrome right now with Uncle Sam, the military-industrial complex in Ukraine. I'm thankful that the military-industrial complex is helping Ukraine, but I have no illusions that they're doing it because the United States believes in democracy or believes in freedom. Far too often I've seen the military-industrial complex of the United States support dictators and straight-up fascists if it supports their geopolitical aims. But all the same, I'm happy to see this, and yes, I do support it, because this is not... in my lifetime, I have never run across a more justified defense and more justified use of military force in the defense of one's country's existence. This is a fight for Ukraine's existence. This is existential. Russia has made it clear that they might even just rename the country. Once they take Kyiv, they've talked about that. Unlikely, but we've seen how they act when they occupy an area. Immediately taking the signs down, replacing them with Russian language, immediately forcing all Ukrainian history out of the curriculum and start teaching this very skewed, specific version of Russian history, literally forcing Russian citizenship on Ukrainian civilians, forcing them at gunpoint to vote, and kind of shit. I don't know about forcing, but they got the guns out. And they got the guns out, and they're knocking on your door, and they got like 2 armed soldiers behind them. Oh, you gonna vote? You gonna vote? Yeah, I guess I'm gonna vote. You're gonna vote for the referendum, right? To join Russia? Yeah, I guess so. Yeah. Thanks so much for participating in our democracy. So like I was saying before, rape is often used as a tool, as a weapon. So once again, trigger warning. Might say the word rape a couple times a day. Sorry about that. But rape is often used as as a tool for power, less about sexual gratification. So we talked about a couple weeks ago. We talked about, I think it was in Tennessee, some Republicans talking about how they want to pass a law that would allow them to castrate rapists, pedophiles. And it's like, you guys they literally don't even understand, because you can abuse people sexually without a penis. So they don't get it at all. And what we're seeing, just like in the United States, in the prison industrial complex of the United States, a lot of people don't know this, but males are raped more in the United States than women because of the rape epidemic that's happening in jail. So kind of a similar dynamic there. We're now seeing on the battlefield in Ukraine. Russians are increasingly raping Ukrainian men on occupied territories. In the context of the full-scale war, sexual violence perpetuated by the Russian military has become commonplace as part of the terror unleashed against Ukrainians living in temporarily occupied territories. The Russians' victims include both men and women. Furthermore, the former are increasingly targeted for rape. This is the conclusion made by CNN journalists who traveled to Kyiv to speak with prosecutors and victims of such crimes. According to Ukraine's Office of the Prosecutor General, Russian military personnel compel men to expose their own bodies, mutilate their genitals, rape them, and apply electric current to their genitals. So you're held at gunpoint and they stick a knife in your hand. I'll let you do the rest. Furthermore, Ukrainian law enforcement personnel documented attempt and actual rapes with batons, a pipe, a bottle, a shovel handle, a stick, and a pen. Roman Cherkenko, a 29-year-old Ukrainian intelligence officer, was held captive for 7 months. He was tormented 3 times every day for 4 months. We're supposed to negotiate with this entity. We're supposed to negotiate about Crimea, give them a little chunk of the Donbass with this entity. This entity that cynically talks about peace when it talks about its special military operation, about how shameful the West is. I mean, Abu Ghraib was a stain on America. Continues to be. Right? The torture scandal that came out. Either America is just really, really, really good, or there's a difference here. And of course, I have not seen any reports from independent sources pointing out any of this being done to Russians. But it's so widespread in how Russia treats its people. It's just they don't even bother hiding it. And we're supposed to negotiate with these people. No, I don't need to see it, M. Goblin. I'll take your word for it. Quote, they laughed when they tortured me. They told me that my mother was being fucked by the Chechen. They took me to be shot twice. They threatened me with rape, the soldier told CNN. They tell you, okay, time to die. And they drag your ass right out, right to where they're going to do it. They put up a gun to the back of your head, and then click. Oh, we're just kidding. They laugh at you. We're just kidding. We're just kidding. They did that twice. Pretty sure these are all war crimes. Like that fucking matters. Chernenko was released as part of a prisoner swap in January 2024, although he is still suffering from the trauma. The soldier says that the thoughts of his sweetheart and mother gave him the fortitude to withstand the capture. According to Ukrainian authorities investigating allegations of sexual abuse in the context of war, all evidence suggests that this is a purposeful technique, part of Russia's behavior in Ukraine. Intentional, supported. Well, it's in every region that was under occupation. Everywhere that Russian troops were located, we're seeing the cases of sexual violence and gender-based violence. The bottom line is that it looks like it is Russian policy, said Anna Sonaska, prosecutor and acting head of the Department of Combating Sexual Violence. So this is not a Ukrainian source. I don't think. Maybe it is. No, maybe this is Ukrainian, actually. Acting head of the department. Yeah, maybe this is Ukrainian source. Anna Kontenko, head of the Global Rights Compliance GRC International legal nonprofit organization, added that survivors of violence claim that the occupiers called such actions punishment. In several villages in the south, we heard witnesses and survivors say that the Russian servicemen came in, occupied the village, and then looked specifically for the wives of Ukrainian soldiers or their mothers or sisters. Once again, we're supposed to be negotiating with this entity. Both sidesing this one, huh? Oh, it's tragic. Anyway, hand wave this away and then be like, oh, well, you know, Ukraine needs to bend the knee. You know, for the last 15 to 20 minutes, the discussion in the chat has had nothing to do with the subject that I'm talking about, and quite frankly, I'm sick of it. Thank you for your time. Can we get back to the topic, please? The Office of the Ukrainian Ombudsman declared that it holds the Russian military, the Ministry of Defense, and the Federal Penitentiary Service of Russia responsible for what is happening in prisons where Ukrainian soldiers are detained, tortured, and raped. Finding the offenders is tough, but possible. It's fine, Woke Patriot. No, you're fine. Finding the offenders is tough, but possible, the Prosecutor General's office asserts. As of the beginning of May, 42 Russian officers were suspected. 19 indictments against 28 persons have been filed, and 5 people have been found guilty. All trials took place in absentia. They're trying to document this. They're trying to keep track of it. The people that are actually committing these crimes. The best that they can do. So it's very real. And I want you to remember these stories that I just showed you the next time you have a debate with somebody who's trying to both sides it. Oh, what about the money? The money. Oh, the money. Remind them what the hell's going on over there and why this is worth every fucking penny and then some. Got some red meat for everybody. You know what you came here for. Look at this amazing POV footage of inside a muddy trench. The dirty frontline fighting that the Ukrainian soldiers are currently engaging in. Ask yourself if you could handle this for even a day. I know I couldn't. Give this a refresh here. No, Woke Patriot, it's fine. Interesting to see this Ukrainian use an AK. Wonder what the situation was there. Maybe they just had, they recovered some weapons or, because, maybe you recover a Russian cache and you're like, yeah, use their shit. Yeah, use their shit first. Why not? I wonder what the story was there. Great video from Suck-You Mimus. Really, really cool. Most used AKs. Oh, I didn't know that. Best thing about being old, I'll probably never have to go to war. Yeah, probably. We'll see. That's probably one of the first to cave in and go insane and commit war crimes because I gone loco. Not gonna lie. Yeah, I mean, I don't know if I'd be able. I see. If I saw a video, if I was on the front line, and I saw a video of Russians attacking that supermarket, and how could I take a prisoner? How could I hold myself back from punishing? Right, but that's the thing, is that the professionalism of the Ukrainian military is commendable, because they go out there, they take those prisoners, because they understand the more prisoners I take, the more of these Ukrainians that are being raped right now, being tortured right now, get swapped out. And Russia, wasn't there a story where they did a prisoner swap, and then Russia drove the bus back to the front lines, and these prisoners of war were put right back into the fight? I think I remember an article about that. But no, anyway, back to Suck-You Mimus. I don't know what this is, some kind of dinosaur or something. I don't know. But this person from the UK does a pretty cool videos on battle analysis and military analysis. So he's got another one here: Ukrainian drone strike on Novoshatinsk oil refinery in Rostov.
Hello everyone, a short video here to start the day. So there's been another successful drone strike on a Russian oil refinery, this time in Rostov district, and judging by the videos, this isn't going to be an easy fix. Some sources online are saying it's the distillation tower that was hit here, which sounds important, with the fire looking like it spread to other areas too, and causing a mighty big blaze that's been raging for hours now. This is the Novochaktynsk oil refinery. This refinery was attacked before back in May 2023. Here's a Google map view of the refinery that was hit and a marker showing the area burning. These distillation towers and the like are more important and much harder to fix than the oil tanks themselves, and effectively knock the oil refinery completely offline until they can be repaired. And the repair job takes a long time. You can see here, this was right on the border with Ukraine, not far from our old friend Rostov on drone. So, a solid strike by Ukraine, and once more, Russian air defense embarrasses itself.
Yeah.
These drones would have flew over occupied.
Now, with that said, the rate of munitions and drones being shot down has skyrocketed. It's much harder for Ukraine to hit these targets. They have to do coordinated, distraction mass waves to be successful, because Russia has had enough time, thanks Mike Johnson and the Republican Party of the United States, quite frankly Joe Biden, but definitely more blame on them. But Russia has had time to create countermeasures and prepare for this, and they're actively shooting down a whole lot more than last year, when we should have been pouring it on, and we Joe Biden, hesitate. Like Putin is going to stop. Joe Biden. And calmer heads will provide. Maybe this, it's like a childish, maybe this will all just go away kind of attitude. What happened to fucking leadership, Joe?
Territory to get here, and bypassed all of Russia's SAM defences and air defences in occupied Ukraine. Not to mention, the air defences we must surely have protecting these oil refineries and similar. Before we finish, a little map here, a bit outdated, showing the attacked oil refineries so far, but it's worth a quick look. And it also shows the range that Ukraine has shown it can strike. So, this is one of the closest targets Ukraine can hit. You can see here, it's right on the border. Thanks so much for watching the video, and take care everybody.
That's pretty cool. That's a pretty cool
chart. Everybody.
That's a pretty cool chart right there. Not bad at all. Not bad for a country that doesn't have, much of an air force. A9, everyone talking about the goddamn AK. Got some more red meat for you. Now, this one's from your boy Davey. Big props to Davey for the excellent links in the Discord. If you want to contribute to the Discord, make sure you type in !Discord. You too can be part of the News Underground. Big props to Chem Goblin, Woke Patriot, Davey, Strategy Member, and that Kurt Cobain person for posting, and anybody else who I'm missing. Thank you so much. This clip is worth the entire time you've sat here, the entire hour and a half you've been here so far. This clip is worth it. I've never seen this before in my life, in any combat footage. But literally, the kind of shit that happens in World of Tanks, the kind of shit that happens in video games, right? The shit that almost literally never happens on the battlefield. And we got footage of this shit. It's like an albino, version of a rare animal, like the rarest of the rare. This shit does not happen too often. I don't think it does, at least. Correct me if I'm wrong. But we have an enemy Russian BTR 82A blasting down the road, and there just so happens to be American supplied M2A2 Bradley on the same road heading towards it. Like I said, World of Tanks kind of stuff, the kind of brazen kind of stuff that you just don't see because people actually care about their lives. But that's not the case here. I don't know maybe the Russian was lost. I don't know, maybe the Ukrainian was attacking and he just wasn't expecting, he was caught off guard. But wait till you see this Russian BTR 82A lit the fuck up by this 25 millimeter Bushmaster cannon Now remember, like the Bradley, now correct me if I'm wrong, is the Bradley considered a tank? Because the gun that's on there is not, is not firing tank shells. It's like a really powerful machine gun, basically, right? Or is it a howitzer? Or what? I don't know what they would officially classify it. But this Bushmaster is a nasty piece of work, but it's not a cannon, right? So correct me if I'm wrong about any of this. But check this out. So we see it right here. Oh my God, no. But we see it right here, hauling ass. And from a distance, actually even from a distance, it looks like it's moving. So look at that, dude. Oh, I probably shouldn't show that. Oh man, I probably shouldn't show that. Oh my God, dude. Okay, I can only show that once. I won't tell you why. Oh, probably shouldn't have shown that either. He's still alive. Damn, I should have checked that link a little better. So as you can see, the damage is immense. And if you want to see the rest of this clip, right here. Sorry about that, Jeff. Shouldn't have shown that. But as you can see, it was absolutely devastating. And those cope cages don't really do much for the Bushmaster. Nematode, you are insufferable. And honestly, you should do more listening instead of talking, quite frankly. Here's another clip from Davey. Additional image of a Russian base in Luhansk City hit by Ukrainian MGM-140 ATACMS tactical ballistic missile this morning. I believe this is some of the ordnance that has been approved by the United States now. But here we see this is once again a military target, a Russian base. This is not an apartment complex filled with mothers and children. This isn't a supermarket. This is a legitimate military target. Russian forces have utilized this site for nearly 10 years. Right? Oh, because I'm sure, like, oh, look at Ukraine, attack civilian location. Look at this. It looks like a civilian location. No. Russia's been using it for over 10 years now, according to the report. Okay. Well, I trust Ukraine. If Ukraine were to intentionally attack a civilian target, I would be surprised. I would be shocked. That would be headline news. Because their record is so solid, because their record is so consistent. I've never seen a military, quite frankly, act as professional as the Ukrainian military. And that includes the United States, quite frankly. I'm watching that amazing HBO series Generation Kill. And I mean, God, what we did to the Iraqi country. For what? For George Bush? Anyway. Real quick, let me set this up. Ukrainian ATACMS strike in Luhansk. So this is what it looks like when Ukrainians are attacking a military target. People are saying that was evidence of something being shot down. Some kind of airburst. It's hard to tell what it is, but they're trying to say, oh, that was effectively shot down. Sure, okay. Usually people are filming something like this after strikes have already hit. And I think we already see this building. No, that's not. Is that already smoking? It's kind of hard to tell. But no, usually people are already moving and running because strikes have already successfully hit. But yeah, I don't know. Maybe an interception, maybe not. It's hard to tell. Yeah, okay. I'll leave it 50-50. But, I've already pointed out that Russians have had time to breathe, and they've come up with countermeasures. Thanks Mike Johnson, thanks to the lack of leadership from Joe Biden, who allowed the Republicans to lead him by the nose for 6 months without any kind of aid package. Yeah, that's on you too, Joe. Oh well, what about them? What about them? What about you, Joe? What about the guy sitting in the fucking chair? Huh? Oh, I'm not guilty. I'm not culpable. No. You got the power, Joe. I'm not saying you could just carte blanche, do whatever you want. I understand there's limitations and things like that. But it makes you look like a weak bitch. Getting led around by the nose by characters like Mike Johnson, quite frankly. You know, you're reacting to Mike. Mike isn't reacting to you, Joe. Yeah.
Hi.
So we're definitely seeing some smoke. We're definitely seeing some smoke on the ground right there. I don't know if that's an interception or not. No, that looks like a successful strike right there. But no, maybe not. I don't know. It's kind of blowing up midair. Oh, it's hard to tell. Hard to tell. Thank goodness that it's Ukraine attacking military targets, because these civilians who are quite scared, they'd be even more horrified if Ukraine was actually targeting them. But they don't. Of course, Russia likes to, you know, seemingly put civilians super close to their military, you know, buildings. Maybe they should talk to their local Russian leaders as to why these military buildings are so fucking close to Russian civilians. Doesn't seem like a smart idea. So as per usual with our Ukraine coverage, we're going to get a map update from everyone's favorite, reporting from Ukraine, doing great job. I do acknowledge that there is some bias here. We don't get a lot of bad news from reporting from Ukraine, but that's okay. The map analysis is on point, and you know, it's really interesting to watch a reporting from Ukraine and then see this analysis repeated on Sky News and all the other, you know, news agencies. But it's really great to get this, you know, this on the ground information, because it does feel like it doesn't really hit the mainstream media until about 24 hours later. But yeah, this guy pores over the maps, pores over the data. He's obsessed with this stuff. He even goes to the trouble of, you know, translating this to English, translating it to Polish. You know, that's what they speak in Poland, right? Polish. What do they speak over there? Over there in Polantopia. But you know what I'm saying. He puts in a lot of work, and he should be celebrated for it, because he's helping Western idiots like me understand it. Yeah, they speak Polish, right?
Today there are a lot of.
Yeah. No. It's not like the Chinese people don't speak Chinese. They speak Mandarin. Yeah. Okay. I get caught in that trap. All us idiot Western Americans get caught in that trap, right? You speak Chinese? What do you mean, Mandarin? Oh, yeah, that one, yeah.
Today there are a lot of updates from the Kharkiv direction.
Yeah, I meant that one. Yeah.
The situation in Vovchansk remains highly volatile, as the armed forces of Ukraine have launched significant counterattacks on different vectors within the city. Recent developments indicate substantial gains by Ukrainian forces, who have managed to recapture several key areas within the city. The armed forces of Ukraine have successfully counterattacked in Vovchansk, recapturing several blocks and pushing Russian forces out of parts of the city center. According to a renowned German press military analyst, in mid-May, Russian forces captured the northern part of Vovchansk and expanded to several central blocks. However, recent Ukrainian advancements have reduced the Russian control to approximately a quarter of the city, down from nearly half just days ago. Remarkably, the recaptured areas are located mainly in 3 areas. That is just west of the citadel, a bit further south, close to the aggregate plant, and in the easternmost area of the city, where the Ukrainians are pushing strongly to the north.
Excellent.
This shift in control highlights the effectiveness of the Ukrainian counteroffensive efforts. In particular, recent reports underline the importance of the Ukrainian success in holding their positions in the citadel. This area is characterized by high, well-fortified buildings that are used by Ukrainian forces to decimate any Russian advance into the area.
Yeah, Chem Goblin, it is weird and very confusing. And dummies like me have a hard time already. We don't even know what language countries speak, for God's sakes. Help the dummies. Can someone please help the dummies? We don't know what's going on. Our diapers need to be changed. We're a mess. We're a complete fucking mess. Please, donate now to help the dummy. Do they speak Polish in Poland? I don't know.
Footage corroborates reports of Ukrainian forces making significant headway and reclaiming different critical areas previously under Russian control.
Welcome back, Ponder Monkey.
The first video shows the tight surveillance reconnaissance drones keep over the streets of Vovchansk. The drone detects a group of infantry trying to hide in a garage area. After the first impact of an FPV drone, some soldiers managed to escape and take shelter in a second garage, just 20 meters away from the first one. Unfortunately for the Russians, the whole scene is captured by the reconnaissance drone, which marks the target to a second FPV drone that hits the garage, eliminating the Russian soldiers who were trying to take shelter there.
You know, and I've pointed this out before, but these buildings would be better cover if Russia didn't carpet bomb them. You know, if you're going to go in there and do urban fighting anyway, why put a bunch of fucking holes in all the buildings that you're going to be taking cover in? You know what I mean? I don't get it, because they reflexively do the artillery, you know, the creeping barrage wherever they go. They completely annihilate it, and then they have to go in there anyway. And it's a complete, you know, it's like you block off avenues. Your tanks can't maneuver in certain areas now because there's collapsed buildings and debris everywhere. Your soldiers can't find cover. FPV drones finding holes and, you know, areas in here. I do not get it. What is the benefit? Everyone's left. All that's left are the soldiers. You're sending troops in there to engage in urban fighting anyway. Does it give you some kind of benefit to do this? I mean, look at this. You can't take proper cover from a drone, and this doesn't have a fucking roof. It had a roof before you did the creeping barrage. You know, wouldn't it be easier to hide from drones? Like, I get it if you're not planning on sending the troops in, right? If you're like, well, we're just annihilating this whole thing and we're just going in this other direction. Okay, that makes a little bit more sense. But you're sending the troops in there anyway. Why don't you give them proper cover? I don't know. There's a logic here I'm missing. I don't get it. Help me out, please. Help.
Hits the garage.
Help, please help a dummy. Help a dummy. Can you help the dummies? Why? Where's the roof, Mommy? Where's the roof, Daddy? I can't hide from the drones. Daddy Putin, why?
Eliminating the Russian soldiers who were trying to take shelter there. A second video shows a building west of the aggregates plant, taken as a shelter by a Russian infantry group.
You can see the drones.
Reconnaissance teams mark the target for Ukrainian artillery that delivers a devastating barrage on the building, demolishing it. The images suggest that Ukrainian artillery equipment is still fully operational and that Russian counter-battery efforts are therefore proving unsuccessful. If you want access to original uncensored combat footage, you can find it on our Telegram channel using the link in the description. For their part, Russian forces relied mainly on airstrikes with glide bombs, although for the moment, Ukrainian forces have managed to hold positions and use them to launch their counterattacks.
Seems counterproductive.
Numerous videos appeared recently with drone panoramic views of the city of Vovchansk, showing how the Russians are trying to level it completely. A prominent Russian mill blogger has outlined 3 primary reasons for the stalling of the Russian offensive operation in northern Kharkiv region. Firstly, Russian forces have struggled to isolate the battlefield effectively, failing at disrupting Ukrainian logistic efforts.
Hell yeah.
Despite Russian heavy shelling and the destruction of numerous bridges using glider bombs, Ukrainian engineers...
Well, Nematode, I definitely broke TOS, so I do apologize once again to the viewers for showing that footage previously. I do try to do a little bit better censoring and avoiding that kind of stuff, because Jeff Bezos does not want us to see the reality of war, Mr. Nematode.
Have continuously repaired and established pontoon crossing points, ensuring the steady supply of Ukrainian forces north of the Vovcha River.
And you know, Chem Goblin's point, that's why you know, Ukraine has to be so careful about abandoning positions and moving back where necessary, because they don't have the resources that Russia has to just throw soldiers away, you know, and it's really benefited Ukraine in this case, because some of the, you know, more experienced guys are really able to bring the fresh blood up to speed pretty quickly. But of course, you know, there does need to be discussion about these 40-plus-year-old Ukrainian soldiers that need to be rotated out of there and are still being depended on to hold the front line. Ukraine is a very geriatric army still, and of course that's why Zelensky needs to enter a total war stance. He should gaslight us. Oh, sorry.
Secondly, Ukrainian FPV drones have significantly hindered Russian infantry advancements within the city.
Bezos says it's okay.
In addition, a considerable presence of Ukrainian snipers and special forces, particularly the Kraken unit, has further hampered Russian efforts. Thirdly, Russian counter-battery warfare has for the most part failed to constrain Ukrainian artillery fire, allowing Ukrainian forces to maintain a robust offensive capability. In a turn of events, the American administration has recently permitted Ukraine to use US-provided weapons, including HIMARS rockets, for counter-fire purposes against Russian forces on Russian soil in the Kharkiv direction. This long-awaited decision led to immediate and numerous HIMARS attacks on Russian bases, equipment, ammunition depots, and anti-aircraft systems throughout the Belgorod region.
So isn't that great? Russia's over, oh, we'll drop a nuke if you don't let us build up arms inside of our territory. And if you dare attack us as we build up our military resources before we cross the border to continue our invasion, how dare you attack these incredibly vulnerable and juicy positions? Bunch of missiles and valuable ammo and shit sitting there. Joe Biden sitting around, ooh, I don't know. We're thinking about it. I was having my milk and my toast today, and I was thinking, oh, maybe we'll let you do it. Ukraine, we don't know. Okay, I'm thinking about it. I'm really worried about Pooty Poot. Meanwhile, Zelensky over here pulling clumps of hair out of his head. We see them with our drones. We see these buildups. Can you please let us attack them with the powerful HIMARS? Ooh, I don't know. Maybe. Hours after it was approved, Joe Biden did approve it, finally. Hours after it was approved, Zelensky hitting that button, like I said before, with Street Fighter, So awesome. Better late than never, but fuck, man. I'm so sick and tired of that bar. Politicians used to be criticized for not leading. There's no shortage of food. That's good.
These strikes have significantly undermined the logistics of the attacking forces in the Liptsy and Vovchansk directions. But Ukrainian forces not only leveraged American systems to target Russian logistics. Recent geolocated footage showed a Russian convoy making the critical mistake of driving in a close-range column near the Sumy region border.
Rookie shit.
The convoy was quickly detected and attacked by numerous FPV drones. The dramatic scenes show how several of the vehicles tried to flee.
You had me at the first part there, Gaius. I think the best lesson for Russia is to push them right back to their borders and say, no, we're not intimidated. You're not going to get away with your tomfuckery. And we're better than you, and we're not going to invade you. No, even after all this, after you've had your temper tantrum, we still want to work with you. And it's so that we can work on healing, but that's never going to work without acknowledging, no, it needs to. I used to say that NATO and the West needs to humble itself to have a real discussion with Russia. But no, not after this invasion. No, there needs to be a very clear, we're not going to annihilate you. We're not going to invade you, but we're not going to lift sanctions, and we're not going to work with you until you get rid of this dictator, until the Russian people get rid of this dictator and something happens with Putin. There does need to be a line drawn in the sand here.
And hide in border. The convoy was quickly detected and attacked by numerous FPV drones. The dramatic scenes show how several of the vehicles tried to flee and hide amongst...
This is so dumb. Wow. A column. But no, Gaia, so you say scare the authoritarians back into the hole. But how can a coalition of authoritarians tell another authoritarian what to do? And that's supposed to be legitimate international law. You know what I'm talking about? It's like I was saying with the United States and the military-industrial complex. They're not helping Ukraine because the United States and the military-industrial complex believes in democracy, believes in freedom. Yeah, technically. But no, I understand the limitation on NATO not being used offensively. Only being activated in a defensive stance. That needs to stay. We can't fuck with that. The whole apple cart goes up if we fuck with that.
The dramatic scenes show how several of the vehicles try to flee and hide among several groves of trees, while Ukrainian drone operators meticulously targeted and destroyed all 18 vehicles in the convoy, highlighting the effectiveness of Ukrainian drone warfare. The original uncensored video of this operation can be found on our
So there was no jamming whatsoever on this big juicy fuck me daddy convoy. There was no jamming. My God, Russia. My God.
Try to flee and all 18 vehicles in the convoy, highlighting the effectiveness of Ukrainian drone warfare.
Wait, did you say all 18?
The Ukrainian drone operators meticulously targeted and destroyed all 18 vehicles in the convoy, highlighting the effectiveness.
What, they got the whole column? Oh, fuck you. Come on with this. They got the whole fucking column. Woo! Holy shit. That's fucking pretty impressive.
Among several groves of trees, while Ukrainian drone highlighting the effectiveness of Ukrainian drone warfare. The original uncensored video of this operation can be found on our Telegram channel as well.
He's got the goods. Check out
Russian
the Telegram
forces
channel.
find themselves in a precarious situation in the Vovchansk direction. What began as a diversionary offensive intended to stretch Ukrainian forces and to create and maintain a buffer zone north of the Vovcha River has turned into a defensive struggle.
Yeah.
Russian forces are now suffering.
Yeah, the Ukraine has successfully turned these, into Bakhmut and Avdiivkas, the meat grinders. But it does everything that I've seen in the last couple weeks. Ukraine has been pushing Russia back, stopping Russia, and Russia has been taking a defensive position, taking steps backwards.
Significant logistical disruptions and losing positions to Ukrainian counteroffensives. As the last nail in the coffin, the American decision to allow Ukrainian attacks with American weapons on Russian territory has derailed Russian plans, forcing them to assume substantial and disproportionate personnel and equipment.
So the great Russian military can only be effective when their opponent is tying one hand behind their back. If the opponent uses all the tools available, the Russian military crumbles.
Losses to avoid the political fallout of a withdrawal only after a month of the beginning of the offensive. Overall, the situation in Vovchansk remains highly contested, with Ukrainian forces making significant gains through effective counteroffensive operations.
Why is Kanye West?
The considerable personnel superiority, along with the massive use of drones, artillery and US-provided weapons allowance on Russian territory, has shifted the momentum in favor of Ukraine.
Goddamn right it has.
The continuous disruptions to Russian logistics and the recapture of key areas by Ukrainian forces indicates that the upper hand in this direction has definitely shifted to the Ukrainian side.
And remember, the narrative just last week was, it's over, frontline dissolving. I think it was 2 weeks ago, I was analyzing and shitting on the Hill, breaking points with Crystal and Sagar, right? Oh, it's over, Russia's taken over. Whoa, Ukraine pushed back. Oh, it's wasted money, says Sagar. Oh, why are we spending so much money defending democracy, says Sagar. Shouldn't we just be capitulating to dictators? Isn't that the easier, peaceful thing to do, says Sagar. Ingenetti, host of Breaking Points, next to the so-called liberal Crystal Ball. Literally, your name's Crystal Ball. But no, that was the narrative, right? Oh, it's over. Now, here's the reality. Soviet mind is correct, by the way. Countermeasures like shotguns and other tools are now being utilized. I think the headline that I read a couple days ago was Russia is just, they're putting some poor fucking schmuck on top of the thing, it's like they're, like, fuck the cope cages. We just got Ivan up there with the fucking shotty, and he's supposed to be the spotter. Okay, good luck, man. These, it's all fun and games, right? Until you're actually trying to do it. Until you're like bouncing around like Ace Ventura over here with your fucking, you got your boom, boom, this fucking thing, and wow. Going about 80 miles an hour into you. Yeah, okay. It's better. It's literally better than nothing. It does work. Yeah, if you're a good shot. No, it's because it's just like skeet shooting, right? You're going to use birdshot. You're going to use, something with a big widespread. But it's technically better than nothing, but I don't know, dog. It's better than nothing, you know. And like, you know, I think back to some of the shitty situations that American GIs had to deal with in, you know, Vietnam and the Pacific, you know. Some of those fights where it's like, well, this is the best we got, boys. We don't got much of a countermeasure, so some of you are gonna die. Some of you won't, though. All right, final bit of the news today. Tragedy, of course, in Gaza. Just more tragedy. More and more tragedy. Oh, I forgot to put the rainbow flag back up. I'm very sorry about that. To the LGBTQ. We got it back up here now, though. Gaza and Israel. Hold that correct. So, you know, as the story goes with Gaza, with Israel, the IDF, more war crimes, more horror. The IDF striking the north, the IDF striking the south. And it reminds me, man, big flashbacks to the war on terror in Iraq and Afghanistan. You know, this, oh, we won, we defeated them. And then a couple months later, you know, some location getting struck. Oh, there was terrorists over here, so we blew up this family. Oh, we got reports of a terrorist leader over in this location, so we annihilated this apartment complex. And, you know, we hit it with this drone, and we hit it with that drone. Always some leader, always some ringleader, some mastermind getting his shit pushed in, right? Doesn't matter where, all over the place, just atrocities whenever. And that was supposed to somehow stop terrorism. That was supposed to somehow slow it down. You know, they called them signature strikes and double taps. And we learned that, of course, because of the whistleblowers. Edward Snowden. Big flashbacks. Even Kanye West over here remembering that. He was over there making his seminal first albums when George Bush was blowing up the Middle East. He used to be pretty good, that Kanye West. He used to make a really solid beat. Now he's just Sieg Heiling. I don't, you know, and sexually abusing his employees. Yeah, Kanye West. Yeah, exactly. Chelsea Manning, thank you again. Yeah, thank you for mentioning that. Chelsea Manning as well, one of those whistleblowers that told us about our crimes. And yeah, this is big time flashbacks where it's just, oh, Hamas was over here, so we blew up this camp. Oh, Hamas was over here, so we blew up that camp. I thought, you know, you're blowing up Hamas in areas that you've supposedly secured. And like, you know, Davey has pointed this out. The Gaza Strip is much smaller. Technically, it is feasible for the IDF to completely empty out all human presence, right? Except for popping out of these tunnels, right? But the IDF could technically occupy this entire region. I guess it's too expensive. I guess, I don't know. They don't want to do that. I don't know. But it's, you know, it's not like the entire Iraq, Afghanistan countries, you know, how big those were. You couldn't, no matter how many U.S. troops, you couldn't technically occupy the entire fucking region. Right. So what I'm trying to point out is the fallacy that you can destroy terrorism at the barrel of a gun. And really, if technically the only way to destroy terrorism at the barrel of a gun is to completely annihilate or completely occupy and drain that region of human beings. Right? If you're not going to fix the suffering, if you're not going to treat people like human beings, if you're like, nope, the suffering is going to continue, the dehumanization is going to continue, we're going to continue with the apartheid state, we're going to continue with the occupation, none of that is changing. So all of those factors that create terrorism are not going away. Your only other option is you have two options: complete annihilation of the entire Palestinian people, right? Or occupation and completely draining them of all people, right? Because even then, because of the tunnels, you're still gonna get Hamas popping out, firing a rocket here and there, you know, a couple pot shots here and there, sniper taking out somebody, and then boop, 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 back into the hole. Right, basically, that occupation of you draining the entire Gaza Strip, you're basically just, you know, creating targets for Hamas to take little pot shots at you. You know it, Kissing Gonzo. Occupation will continue until morale improves. Yeah. So anyway, flashbacks to the signature strikes from Barack Obama and George Bush. We're going to defeat terrorism. It's right around the corner. We're going to get them. Now, and Bibi Netanyahu desperate to keep this whole thing going. Maybe even opening up a new front with Hezbollah, with Lebanon and Hezbollah. I'll have to figure out how that works out. How the Lebanese army and Hezbollah works together, if they're one and the same, and I don't fucking know. Oh, like I said before, the only person that benefits from war, from this chaos continuing, the only person that benefits is the one guy that's in charge of the whole shebang, Bibi Netanyahu. And he's the only one that benefits. Everyone, every other party, even including Israel, including the Israeli, the government coalition that they have, is, as the longer this goes on, all of these entities, the Palestinians, of course, but even Uncle Sam and even Rishi Sunak and the fucking and the Labour Party in the UK, nobody wins except for Bibi, as long as this continues, and it continues. That's the kind of guy Bibi is, man. How do you even sleep? You're the linchpin, making sure that the chaos machine continues churning. And you don't pull it. You don't do anything. You're like, no, you make it worse. You crank it up. Well, fuck it. I'm still in charge. Get to it.
Let's introduce our next guest, Dr. Ori Goldberg, joining us, an Israeli political commentator. Dr. Goldberg, thank you for being with us.
Goldberg. Yep. You know what that means. I'm sorry.
Cool it with the anti-Semitic remarks.
I just go full Nick Fuentes on you all of a sudden. You think I'm a big Libby lefty, and I just go full Nick Fuentes on you. Go like, oh, I'm just asking the question. No one asked the question. I'm just asking the questions here. All right, let's get to it.
Us. We heard from Iris Marco about the situation regarding the Flag Day and obviously about the situation regarding the northern border. Can I put my first question to you, sir, regarding Benjamin Netanyahu? Because in many ways, Israel's Prime Minister seems to be caught in the horns of a dilemma right now. He has the peace deal as proposed by Joe Biden last weekend, which is there, which if he accepts it or if he rejects it, he seems he's going to be on a loser either way, politically for himself.
Well, let me try and redraw the dilemma in domestic political terms. Netanyahu now has to decide where he has a better chance of surviving the ordeal he's been undergoing for the last several years. His trial, the protests against him. He has two options here. One is his religious right power base. They are ideologically quite staunch. They are the ones who want to continue the war in Gaza until the complete eradication of Hamas. They're the ones who are calling for a war in Lebanon.
I knew it. No, I'm sorry. Ben-Gvir wants more than just the complete elimination of Hamas. But okay, but I knew it. The Israeli political commentator living in Israel. Okay, yeah, we got to continue with this myth that this is about Hamas. Okay. When it comes to Ben-Gvir, I'm not quite sure with Bibi Netanyahu. I think Bibi Netanyahu does still even now understand the benefit of, having, not completely annihilating the Gaza Strip, because I think he understands that it's better to have the humanitarian disaster, the Gaza Strip, the way it is, than to push this humanitarian disaster onto Egypt, and what that would do to Arab relations for the next several decades, I don't know about Saudi Arabia, though. Saudi Arabia seems totally down, whatever. They don't seem to care at all what's happening to Palestine, quite frankly.
War in Gaza until the complete eradication of Hamas. They're the ones who are calling for a war in Lebanon. They're the ones who are leading this march on Jerusalem Day, which is all provocation, all bullying, all violence.
Yes.
Netanyahu can choose them. They've been loyal, but they have their differences with him. And they don't trust him so much. He doesn't trust them so much.
That's right.
There's a real relationship there, but it's not based on ideological kinship. It's based on interests.
Yeah, exactly. It's based on interests. Yeah. And Ben-Gvir wants it all, baby. He wants it all. He wants to be in Bibi Netanyahu's seat. And let me tell you, God help us all if that's the case. Because we will see. We won't be like, we're gonna move them around and considerations to humanitarian disaster of some sort. No, Ben-Gvir would take all the gloves off and we would see some old school brutality.
They knew that Netanyahu would give them whatever they wanted in return for their political support.
Yeah.
But Netanyahu can also choose to dismiss them. Netanyahu can also choose to sign the hostage deal. And if he signs the hostage deal, then he would be touching on a discrete truth of Israeli politics, which is that even the Israelis who are out in the streets protesting against him, they don't disagree with his policies. I'm using the double negative intentionally.
It's weird, but he's totally right. Yeah, because they're not protesting against the elimination of the Palestinians. They're kind of like selfish children in a way. We only give, no take. We want all the hostages back, and we want you to destroy Hamas, and we don't want you to treat the Palestinians like human beings. We want everything. We want everything. That's kind of what he's dealing with.
Don't disagree with his policies. I'm using the double negative intentionally because it's all quite discreet and nobody really says this outright. They support his war. I'll go as far as saying that they support the genocide. And they have no reason to vote for pale epigones of Netanyahu like Benny Gantz or anybody else.
I'm officially taking back my biased accusation of, even though he said eliminate Hamas, I didn't mean to put words in his mouth. He's clearly a critical voice against this. There's no way anybody who is towing the IDF line would use the genocide word in describing this. So, big props to this guy right here.
Support his war. I'll go as far as saying that they support the genocide. And they have no reason to vote for pale epigones of Netanyahu like Benny Gantz or anybody else. If they can get a prime minister who will have the courage to say, okay, I've fought this war for as long as I could. Now it's time to sign the hostage deal. He might actually stand a better chance in elections or even in some negotiated plea bargain for his trial before elections if he chooses to rely on the support of the broad, quiet Israeli center and not on the support of a settler vanguard. They make a lot of noise, a lot of provocation, but they are not a national movement. That's his dilemma.
Let me come back to you in a second. I'll bring Iris back in, our correspondent in Jerusalem. Iris Merkel, I hope you heard what Dr. Goldberg was saying there. I'm keen to ask you, as you went to the march today, what was the sense you got from the people there, for or against Netanyahu?
They are focused on Jerusalem. They are focused.
Not all of them kissing Gonzo. There is unfortunately, it's a minority, but there is a voice for peace and common sense and sanity inside Israel. But unfortunately, it's very difficult for them to speak because they are often ostracized. Yeah.
Focused on the what they call the Temple Mount, what Palestinians call the Al-Aqsa Mosque. We heard from Ben Gvir, one of their leaders, the controversial now minister, and he said, we have to show Hamas that we're taking back Jerusalem. So their focus is on Jerusalem rather than on Netanyahu. If they have to choose between Netanyahu and a centrist leader, or what they would call a leftist leader whom they despise, they would choose Netanyahu. The question is, can Netanyahu, as our guest was saying, can Netanyahu put up with them? Will it be in his long-term interests to do that? Will it be in his short-term interests to do that? Because things are becoming much more stressful here, both in Gaza and especially on the northern border.
Iris, thank you. You set up my next question very nicely to Dr. Goldberg, who we're bringing back in now. Dr. Ori Goldberg, Israeli political commentator. Dr. Goldberg, you were saying about Netanyahu perhaps needing to come back to the centre. You were saying that was a possibility that he could choose to do if he so wanted to create a different kind of governance if possible. Is that likely to happen? Isn't he more or less in hock to the far right in his coalition?
Yeah, he is.
No, he isn't. They've had a very tumultuous relationship. He is not a right-wing ideologue. He has disappointed them before, and they have left his governments before.
That's true. I think he's using the definition of right-wing ideologue in terms of Ben Gvir and what have you. We would lefties in America would consider Bibi Netanyahu a right-wing ideologue, but it's hard to believe. But it goes even further to the right And Bibi Netanyahu, yes, has clashed with that, and like it was the coalition that he made with Ben Gvir was, like this person described, it wasn't because Bibi, agrees politically with the direction there. It's because he had to politically, he had no choice to do a coalition with these people, and he still seemingly, has to appease them in somewhat, but yeah, no, that's interesting to hear his perspective on this.
In Hock too, the far right in his coalition.
No, he isn't. They've had a very tumultuous relationship. He is not a right-wing ideologue. He has disappointed them before, and they have left his governments before. This has all already happened. And as you say, things are heading towards the precipice. He has to decide where he wants to jump. It's true that there is a lot of dislike for Netanyahu in Israel generally. But then again, there is no real viable alternative so far. I think your correspondent was absolutely correct.
That Mr. Gallant fella, there's some speculation that maybe Gallant is trying to set himself up to maybe, step in to replace Bibi, but that wouldn't be able to happen for several years. And, it's just, it wouldn't really make sense for him. It's not like if Gallant were to challenge him that he would immediately become like a rival who could, unseat Bibi. So yeah, he's very correct. There really isn't anybody who's, next in line that people are really talking about here.
No real viable alternative so far. I think your correspondent was absolutely correct when she said that these right-wing hawks, they think of Netanyahu as a means to an end. They are not personally devoted to him. By the way, it is interesting to note that the ultra-Orthodox parties, their constituencies are right-wing, but they are very much personally devoted to Netanyahu. They have already announced that they will support a hostage deal. Again, there are domestic political considerations that have driven them to do so, but really it's becoming...
Holy shit, dude. When you've lost the Orthodox guys, okay. Yeah, okay. That Calvin Klein? Like, that's so weird.
A situation where one has to decide between ideology, hard fast, and broader domestic political considerations. Netanyahu is a very astute politician. He knows Israel very well. He represents a very powerful Israeli constituency. I think he's had enough of the religious right, and I think there's a very good chance he's going to flip on them.
Let me bring Iris back in for a moment, Dr. Goldberg. Thank you very much indeed. Please stay with us. Iris, you're reacting there. Tell us what's on your mind.
I'm interested. I haven't heard it put quite like that. I was hearing of deals. His problem isn't whether he'll put up with the left or the centre parties. It's whether they'll put up with him, because they've all vowed not to sit with him. That's why he has this coalition. So I have heard people suggesting that a deal may be cooked up even out of Washington, which would say to the opposition leader, give Netanyahu a year in office and then he will bring you into power. He will remove the right-wing parties. He'll have a year more, and that will be to the benefit of everyone. And there will then be a ceasefire deal and a hostage exchange, hopefully. But I have
Gaius, that rule recently changed. I was showing the Orthodox people having a nuclear fucking flip out at this rule change, but no, and this kind of backs up his point that there's a big disagreement with the Orthodox community from Bibi Netanyahu, because that rule that said that they no longer that they were exempt from serving as long as they were studying the Torah, and they would just live their whole lives just studying the Torah. So yeah, that rule has recently changed actually. So there's actually a whole, I think there's an IDF battalion made up of Orthodox people, and they I won't speculate on what they get up to on the front lines.
Will remove the right-wing parties. He'll have a year more, and that will be to the benefit of everyone. And there will then be a ceasefire deal and a hostage exchange, hopefully. But I haven't ever heard it put, as Dr. Goldberg is putting it, that actually Netanyahu is sick of the right, his right-wing flank. So I'm very interested to hear that. You do feel something in the air, and I don't know if it's actually what's happening in northern Israel and the fact that Israel doesn't want to fight on two fronts. So there's a military imperative to solve or to at least halt the war in Gaza for some time, maybe for a very long time. Or I don't know if it's that, but you do feel something in the air here, that's for sure.
Thank you, Iris. I think it was Yoav Gallant who spoke about the conflict being on 7 fronts. He listed all the countries, including Samaria and Judea, i.e. the West Bank. So in a sense, is this what Netanyahu said today about being ready to respond in a very strong way in the north, Dr. Goldberg? Is this something that is inevitable? Is this inevitable that Israel is going to really push into southern Lebanon?
No, I don't think it's inevitable at all. I think there's a major push that's coming from the military, from the IDF, which again is understandable when you think about the politics. The IDF is desperate for a win. The IDF has failed abysmally in Gaza. It has not accomplished its goals.
You hear that, David?
Hamas has not been eradicated. The hostages have not been returned. All the IDF can do now is say, we told you this would take a long time, but the longer it takes, the more this begins to seem like perhaps the biggest military defeat Israel has ever experienced. And the IDF is so desperate now that Lebanon...
You know, it's funny. They started October 7th making 9/11 comparisons. Turns out it was actually a Vietnam comparison. Ooh. Daddy's on fire. I'm sorry. I don't know what's going on. I'm sorry. I'm just an incredibly cringe. Ooh.
The longer it takes, the more this begins to seem like perhaps the biggest military defeat Israel has ever experienced. And the IDF is so desperate now that Lebanon seems like a reprieve. That would be a real war. We could actually maneuver. We wouldn't be stuck in the alleys and byways of crowded cities. Let us show our mettle there. We will restore security. The problem is nobody's buying it after 8 months. And also there's this other thing you need to remember. Hezbollah has said, if the fire in Gaza stops, we will cease firing on our side. If that happens, the IDF, as eager as it might be to press on into Lebanon, the IDF would have absolutely no cause and no mandate to do that. Hezbollah has so far been very smart strategically, very smart in using its power and applying it. There's no reason to assume that
it would be a massive mistake for Hezbollah to do an October 7th like Hamas did to, give Bibi Netanyahu, give the IDF all the justification it needs to open up a new front. But yeah, he's right. Without the violence that's happening in Gaza, without what Hamas is doing in Gaza, where's the mandate to keep going into another country? You're not going to get away with it. You're not big enough. You're not the United States. You can't just spill over into Afghanistan after your Iraq war adventure didn't work out. You can't just get away with that shit. Israel, you're not big enough.
Hezbollah has so far...
Oh, Davey, you just refused. All the expert. Every time I show an expert that points out that there's no eliminating Hamas at the barrel of a gun, you still over here, oh, it could have worked. Oh, they did this differently. You got the United States wasting $4 trillion trying to eliminate the Taliban, trying to introduce democracy to Iraq, if you want to be friendly about what that whole fucking boondoggle was about. All this evidence sitting and still, oh yeah, well maybe Israel is absolutely destroying Hamas. Yeah, is that why Israel is striking Hamas in territories that they've said that they've eliminated Hamas in? I mean, it's a joke, man. Oh, these things take time. What? When I nailed you to the wall on these things take time, you said 120 fucking years. Clearly leftist, huh? Really? That's what you're going to call Mr. Goldberg here? A clear leftist. Really? Honestly, Davey, it's pathetic. It's reached the point of delusion. You're lying to yourself. You can't admit you're wrong. It's kind of sad at this point. You need to reevaluate your bias on this because it's making you look a little silly. Okay. Wow, really? You mean you could find me a lot of Israeli sycophants who were saying the exact opposite? No kidding. You could say a lot of people who are totally not independent in any sort of way that are saying the exact opposite. They're saying that Israel is winning. Really, Davey? Give it up, man. Give it up, man. It really, I mean, I don't, it's a total abysmal failure, and you're still carrying water. I just don't get it, man. Davey, you have to admit you're wrong on this one. You have no other choice, man. And it's just what we're waiting for is the amount of time for that to settle in. But you're too honest. You're too smart to not know that I'm telling the truth here. But you just can't admit it for whatever reason. You're too big of a tough guy, whatever. You're wrong.
Been very smart strategically, very smart in using its power and applying it. There's no reason to press on into Lebanon. The IDF would have absolutely no cause and no mandate to do that. Hezbollah has so far been very smart strategically, very smart in using its power and applying it. There's no reason to assume that at this stage, when Israel's defeat could finally become clear even to Israelis, Hezbollah will jump the gun.
Dr. Ori Goldberg, thank you very much indeed for your analysis. And Iris.
Interesting. By jump the gun, does he mean back off? Is that what he means? I'm not quite sure what he meant by that. A serious, hardcore, leftist, bad actor, communist there clearly didn't know what he was talking about, right? It's pretty obvious that it's totally possible to get rid of Hamas. We just got to try it. Just double down, guys. Just like Vietnam, right? We could have taken out Ho Chi Minh. We just didn't try hard enough. Welcome back, Ribbons. That was the problem, man. And same thing with the Taliban. Same thing with the Taliban, man. We just didn't, it would betray us. Pulled out right when we were about to win. Right. Joe Biden over here, defeatist. Mass graves at hospital in Gaza after Israel withdrew its forces. So, just a little war crime. No biggie. And I will insert the talking point from the defenders of Israel that these mass graves being uncovered could have been medical deaths that happen. This that does need to be investigated. I would also like to point out that the last mass grave that was investigated that was outside of a hospital found evidence of torture, bullet hole wounds in the back of heads, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. People, having their limbs cut off, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Obvious signs of torture. But hey, there's another one. This one's okay though. This is the okay one. So it's all justified on this one, guys. Not the other one wasn't. But this one's okay.
But now
we're going to get Hamas. It's all justified because Hamas. Hamas. And no one never know it says that. Hamas. There go. There go. Okay. Please, someone, please. Help us. I'm alone. It's dark. It's dark in my stupid brain. I threw something and it just sounded like an empty warehouse. I don't know what's happening in there. Words? Hello?
We're going to get the latest on the Israel-Gaza war. Security officials from the United States, Egypt and Qatar will meet in Doha today to try to revive negotiations on a ceasefire in Gaza. And they include the CIA Director, William Burns. The White House says it's still waiting for a response from Hamas.
Davey, we had total control over Afghanistan and Iraq. We could move wherever we wanted to, all over. Same thing with Vietnam, right? We could basically go wherever the hell we wanted. We barely lost a fight in Vietnam, and we still got our asses kicked, didn't we? By the fucking Taliban, by the fucking Vietnamese army, dude. They were wearing sandals and using rusty AKs that they got from Russia, and somehow, with all of our impunity, with all of our Air Force, with all of our might, with all of our napalm, we got our asses kicked. What in the fuck is Israel doing differently? Davey.
On a plan presented by President Biden last Friday.
Yeah, you make that point that Gaza is smaller, and yet the IDF is still incapable of doing it. Oh, give it more time, he says. How many more people got to die before you are satisfied that this experiment has failed? You ghoul. How many more got to die while we wait on the strategy to work? Ignored your first comment. Afghanistan, 75,000 miles. You're talking about how Gaza is smaller. The distance makes a huge difference, except it doesn't. Except it's not, is it? That's your wishful thinking. That's your rose-tinted glasses, fucking optimism over here. Just give it a little bit more time. While motherfuckers are dying en masse, hundreds, waiting on your strategy to work. Oh, it'll happen any day now. Same shit that they said in Vietnam, Afghanistan, Iraq. Give it more time, double down. Troop surge, more troop surges. Remember that during the Obama era? You're either a sucker or you're delusional, man. Which one is it? Because you're not right.
CIA Director William Burns. The White House says it's still waiting for a response from Hamas on a plan presented by President Biden last Friday. Hamas has insisted that any deal it subscribes to must commit to a permanent ceasefire and also an Israeli withdrawal from Gaza. On Tuesday, the Israeli army launched a new operation against Hamas in the Borj refugee camp in the center of Gaza. Israeli forces are continuing to mount an offensive in the southern city of Rafah. And the Al-Shifa hospital in Gaza City was the subject of multiple Israeli raids earlier this year. Our Middle East correspondent Yolande Knell has been speaking to rescue workers who have examined the wreckage amid calls for an international investigation into the hospital's destruction.
Amid ruins that reeked of death, Palestinians poured over what was once Gaza's biggest and best-equipped hospital after Israeli forces withdrew. Israel's military raid in March was the second at the site, and it was dramatically destructive. 4 mass graves containing, local search teams say, hundreds of bodies have now been dug up at Al-Shifa, prompting international calls for an investigation into possible war crimes.
Oh, it'll be investigated.
There are reports of suspicious finds.
We've discovered bodies of women and children and people without heads, as well as torn body parts.
Israel's military says it exhumed bodies which Palestinians had buried earlier as it searched for hostages seized by Hamas. But some of the dead were patients. Walid believes his mother Lina died of malnutrition and dehydration. Her corpse was badly decomposed.
I identified her from particular marks on her legs. She'd been wounded in November and had a toe amputated on each foot.
Israel blames any deaths of patients on natural causes, but the World Health Organization says those trapped endured horrific conditions.
During the siege, 20 patients died, and there were patients on oxygen, let's say, who couldn't get oxygen. There was not proper medication, but also the food and water. There are stories that 15 people had to share 1 bottle of water.
Israel's army says Palestinian gunmen were based inside Al-Shifa, and that over 2 weeks it killed more than 200 Hamas and Islamic Jihad operatives.
Shifa has become a main terrorism command center for Hamas. The surprise action by our forces was precise and surgical.
Some schmuck, you know, some insurgent, some terrorist runs up into the hospital, fires off a couple, you know, rockets, and all of a sudden the whole complex is a major fucking HQ. It's such a joke, man. That's all you got to do, man. You just got to run up in there, fire some. Oh, yeah, well, there we go. There's another HQ, major command center. Same shit the U.S. was trying to pull in Iraq and Afghanistan. Oh, we got them now. We got them now, boys. Got them on the run. Took out another big command center, another big bunker.
Here, witnesses have told us that many civilians, including entire families, were also killed by Israeli airstrikes and snipers during the Al-Shifa raid. A dedicated surgeon, Dr. Ahmed Al-Makadma, was one of those shot dead close to the hospital where he worked.
Well, he's probably Hamas.
I spoke to a top British surgeon who'd helped train him.
Look, I remember the United States saying any boy, any man above the age of 17, I believe it was 17, is automatically considered a terrorist until identified or confirmed otherwise. You just wipe out a whole region, the whole area, you know, smoke dozens of people. Okay, well, any boys in there. So by the U.S.'s standards, by the U.S.'s standards on what is a justified target, because this guy has a nutsack and he was caught up in the attack, he's a terrorist. And the IDF likes to constantly bring up what standards we used when we were, with our military adventures. By the way, we're still in Iraq, by the way. I don't know if anyone remembers that, but still active bases, still getting attacked, you know. Still got bases in Iraq. Could you imagine if we were still, like, occupying portions of southern Vietnam? Like, to this day? We just literally never left. You know, could you imagine?
I'm surprised at any...
I spoke to a top British surgeon who'd helped train him.
He was not just hungry for knowledge. He was a very gentle and somebody who all of us would want to have as our sort of doctor.
Sounds like an anti-Semite
Dr.
to me.
Ahmed was off shift at home near Ashifa when Israeli forces returned. After 4 days under siege and a harsh interrogation by soldiers,
every single person in this picture is a viable target according to the U.S. and the IDF standards. If any of these guys get caught up in a missile strike, regardless of their actual innocence, they are considered Hamas members. That's how it works. That's eliminating Hamas.
He tried to leave Gaza City on foot with his mother Yusra. 11 days after his disappearance, his father Saeed says, we found Ahmed's decomposed body. Israel's military says it's unaware of the deaths of the surgeon and his mother. Many others are...
Kanye West, don't encourage him. You haven't answered a single one of my questions that you haven't brought up a single salient point about how the IDF is going to do something different. The only thing you got is a offhand comment from Davey about, oh, well, the sizes of the region are different. Yeah, the sizes are different, and yet the IDF still can't do it. So what does that say? Oh, well, Davey made one point that was easily pointed out how stupid it was. You know, he made one. Oh, that's interesting. He said one thing that's wrong. Well, that's pretty interesting to me. Can someone give me any kind of fucking the supply chain? But no, I mean, just, can someone tell me what the fucking magic trick is? Because, you know, there isn't. Astronomically different, huh? Oh. We didn't have it. Was there ever, I know there was issues with IEDs and armor on our Humvees and supply issues around there. But the U.S. was pretty well supplied when we went into Vietnam, Afghanistan, Iraq. Plenty of supplies, man. We left, how much shit did we leave behind in Afghanistan? Okay, well, it's easier for Israel to get stuff to the front lines, and yet they're still losing. Just give it more time. Okay, BB.
Still searching for loved ones missing since the Ashifa raid. With international forensic experts unable to get to the site, Gazans are mostly focusing on finding the dead and giving them proper burials. And that
Israel is losing because it has sacrificed its standing on the global stage. The existence of Palestine is now being accepted by countries. They're no longer waiting for Israel's permission to acknowledge the existence of Palestine, which is something that Israel does not want. They do not support Palestinian statehood. So they've lost there. They've lost on the battlefield because they've declared these areas safe. They've declared these areas terrorist free. Then they pop on out of a tunnel, fire off a couple rockets, continue to get IDF soldiers killed, yet they move in Gaza with impunity. So that's not how guerrillas work. This is not a war against an army, a standard normal army, Davey. No matter how bad you need to pretend that is. Oh yeah. Hamas doesn't have tanks. They don't have an air force. They got a bunch of fucking theocratic, uneducated idiots running around with whatever weaponry the Hezbollah can give them. And they will continue to do that. They will continue to get IDF soldiers killed. They'll pick them off here and there, all over the place. Doesn't matter. They can move with impunity. That doesn't mean that they've won. The moment, so Davey, here's the reason why they've lost. Because the moment the IDF leaves, Hamas returns. Because like I said before, IDF is not interested. The Israeli government is not interested in changing the factors that created that terrorist entity in the first place. The despair, the economic situation, the apartheid, the occupation. They're not going to change any of that, which is the ingredients that make a terrorist stew. They're not going to change any of that. So the moment they leave, you have no proof of that. You have no evidence of that. You don't even know how many people are in Hamas. You don't know how many people have joined Hamas since the start of this. You have no fucking idea, man. Guesses. My assumption that this will continue has backing because blowback is a real thing. And like I said, the Israeli government and the IDF have no intention of changing anything. Changing up or removing any of the ingredients that created terrorism stew. So I got facts. I have history. You have rose-tinted glasses and maybes. And keep cross your fingers. Keep calm and carry on with a failed strategy that has demonstrably failed in other areas by countries that have way more resources and a way more powerful military. And you got, well, maybe wait and see and we'll see. That's what you got, man.
Israeli fighter jets struck in the middle of the night. The people were sleeping, huddled in an UNRWA school in Deir al-Balah. As so often in this war, a place that should have been safe but wasn't. The Gazan Health Ministry says 14 children and 9 women were amongst the dead.
We were sleeping when we suddenly saw a rocket falling on us. On the second floor there were martyrs, and on the first they were injured. That's all we saw.
The Israelis say they were targeting 20 to 30 Hamas fighters located in the school.
The school had terrorists who actually took part in the murderous attack of October the 7th. We took them out.
We don't have to present any evidence to that. We don't have any proof whatsoever. I love how they say shit like that, right? Oh, they were students of a terrorist school that directly participated on October 7th. You have any proof? We'll get back to you.
We targeted Hamas and Islamic Jihad terrorists of the Nukba forces. They obviously sought to exploit the school and shelter there.
But at what cost? Staff at the Al-Aqsa hospital saved those they could.
Davey, take a look, man. This is your wait and see, Davey. This is your wait and see, buddy. And don't you dare say, oh, it's because Hamas. Because Hamas. The IDF and the Israeli government created a terrorist stew with its policies on Palestine. Yeah, what you are saying is that it's necessary and that it's a strategy that is working. And you're wrong. You're so fucking wrong. Can't they just arrest the Hamas? You don't arrest Hamas. Okay, they're brutal, theocratic terrorists. There's only one answer to Hamas. Okay, you know, like, well, in terms of like one-to-one, if you're on the battlefield, you're not, you know, you're shooting at them, they're shooting at you. You're not arresting anybody. I mean, that is not true. You can take prisoner. You can take them prisoner. Okay, I take it back. I'm being too bombastic here. But they're a dangerous religious terrorist organization, and you unfortunately, that kind of fanaticism. That's why I keep talking about you can't destroy that extremism. You can't destroy that fanaticism at the barrel of a gun. The only thing you can do is create a happy and healthy middle class group of Palestinians who, you know, through economic prosperity, through a viable future, do you eliminate the motivation to become a terrorist? That's the only thing that truly gets rid of terrorism, is you know, treating the Palestinians like human beings. So that's, of course, off the table. Yeah, but they're not, and they have no intention of doing that. So you're like, shoulda, coulda, wouldas mean about jack fucking shit, don't they, Davey? Because you know full well they're not going to do any of what you're suggesting, and yet they still have your full support, don't they? So you can't have your cake and eat it too, buddy. You know full well they're not going to listen to your fucking recommendations about what they should do to civilians, but they still have, you got their back, bud. They don't give me that shit about they could be doing shit better, because you know the fuck that they're not. But they got your support anyway. Own it.
I was sitting next to my father. May God have mercy on him. Then suddenly, I felt something on my head. Lots of rubble fell on my legs. Then I fell unconscious. Rubble fell on my father's head. My father was martyred.
Very few hospitals are functioning in Gaza now, and they're short of everything: fuel, medicine, bandages, staff.
We are seeing a humanitarian...
Well, here's your effective eventually, you fucking ghoul. Burn this shit into your brain. I hope every single time you come up with a shitty, fucking lazy excuse as to why this needs to continue, you remember this.
Humanitarian catastrophe on a scale that it's very hard to believe unless you see it, with many children.
You support
but
this,
also
Davey.
People of all ages, injured, killed, disabled for life. It is very hard to provide the amount of care. There is not enough aid, there are not enough staff, there is not enough space. So I think the international community needs to look at what is happening here and say that it is enough. This war needs to end.
But it's not ending. Today, the Israel Defense Forces put out footage of their troops operating in Rafah. Although the Americans have presented the latest...
But I was told they can move freely in Rafah. This doesn't make any sense to me.
This proposal for a temporary, then permanent ceasefire.
Well, yeah. Well, we once again, are you willing to admit that there's about a 1% chance of that fucking happening? So a fat lot of good your support for that does. Meanwhile, they have your support. You got their back.
As an Israeli initiative.
They have minimal resistance, huh? Yeah, okay, yeah, minimal resistance. It doesn't matter.
It's not. Neither Hamas nor Israel has accepted it.
Jesus fucking Christ, another baby.
More chaotic scenes at Al-Aqsa Hospital yesterday as Deir al-Balah was struck again. He brings in a baby, but it's not his.
Oh my God.
An older child has to try to save a younger one, despite her own trauma and distress. Then she sees the baby. It's her niece. It's overwhelming. Scores have been killed and
effective eventually. Effective eventually. It's disgusting. Shameful. That you would carry water for this, man. I can't even imagine.
injured, children orphaned, so many families bereaved and torn apart, so many individual stories, tragedies amongst the statistics. And who to blame? Most blame Israel. But listen to this man. He's cursing Yahya Sinwar, the leader of Hamas, who is probably no longer in Gaza, but somewhere safe and comfortable. Today they mourned those killed in the UNRWA school. How many more must die before Hamas releases Israeli hostages and Israel stops attacking without mercy? How much longer must this go on?
Lindsay Hilsum there. Well, a short time ago, I spoke to Sam Rowe.
I just wanted to show that. Yeah, the leaders of Hamas are in Qatar. I know I've traumatized you quite a bit today, but we're going to have one last video, the voice of a child. So he was asked, what do you wish for? And he says, I wish we would die.
ليش؟
كان ما عندنا شكل ولا شغل. أنا زهقان من الحياة عشان حال.
شو اسمك؟ عرفنا عن حالك.
وسيم.
كم عمرك يا وسيم؟
أنا بصفتين.
ليش جاي اليوم هان؟
عشان أجيبك الأبضاع.
So, I mean, if this kid, you know, raised in Davy, if this child raised in this environment picks up arms and fights against the IDF, who's the one that's in the right? This child becomes a 16-year-old, 17-year-old. He survives this. He's lived his whole life in this. And he picks up arms against the IDF. Who's in the right?
أخذت حاجة؟
لا.
كيف الحرب معك؟
والله خربتنا الحرب ونزلت دورنا.
ايش بتتمنى؟
There's been some. I've actually never seen this before on France 24's Spot the Fake or Stop the Fake or whatever they call this segment. Truth or Fake. You wouldn't blame him for fighting the IDF, but his death would be justified if once he dies in battle from the IDF, right? See how twisted you are, man? How it's all twisted up in there? But, you know, I will give you this, Davey. You're more honest and upfront than 99% of the conservatives that I talk to about this. Because most of the conservatives, they just, you know, whatever. Whatever. Human rights, whatever. But no, so this really cool segment from France 24's Truth or Fake. There's apparently this image of this IDF soldier who's proudly burning books inside a Gazan school. Please tell me how this has to do with defeating Hamas. I guess they would say, oh, well, these were all, this school and these books are all pro-Hamas terrorist teaching materials. Last time I checked, Hamas, there should be only one book there if that was true, because Hamas, the only book that Hamas wants you to read is the Quran, right? Only one book over and over and over and over and over again. So I'm not sure what, you know, these must have been just various versions of the Quran over and over and over again, if this is a Hamas terrorist school. But social media has been saying, oh, it's fake, it's fake, it's fake, it's fake. I won't spoil it for you, but I think you know where I'm going.
Well, Vedika, today you've been looking into claims an Israeli soldier burned books at a Palestinian library. What have you been able to ascertain about these claims?
Yes, Monty, this photo showing a soldier sitting in front of a shelf of burning books has been going viral. It's been shared online by scores of social media users who reportedly showing Israeli soldiers burning the books at the Al-Aqsa University Library in Gaza. Now, it has to be said that for every account sharing these claims, there was also scores of doubters online, many claiming that the image has to be fake or generated by AI, if not digitally tampered with. So let's take a look at the first original post that we can see with this photo. Now, it was first posted online in its original post by well-known Palestinian journalist and fact-checker on the ground, Younis Tarawi. And indeed, he does attest that these images show Israeli soldiers setting the books on fire at the Al-Aqsa Central University Library. Now, he also, in a later post, actually identified the soldier and the battalion of the soldier in question in that photo, or the one who posted that photo, rather. And going as far as to show us these screenshots where he found those images on the account of an IDF soldier. We can see here that the account has since been privatized, but as he shows us in this original post, he managed to take a screenshot of the account before it was privatized, where we can indeed see that image straight there on.
This is the coolest news thing. I just want this. I want this screen so bad. I want this screen in this software. How much does this cost? Like what? $100,000? Fuck, man. This is the coolest. If I had this shit, I could like zoom in and like get my whole stream ready on this fucking thing with the map. You know, okay, moving over to Palestine. They glitch out all the time. I don't care. It's so cool. I'll deal with it. Man, donate to the News Underground, please.
His Instagram grid, Monty.
Okay, so the image has been linked to the soldier, but what do we know about the location? I mean, can we verify that it took place at Al-Aqsa University?
Link my iPad.
Yes, in fact, we can, and geolocation experts have been also deep diving into this image. So if we take a closer look, this is the Instagram page.
I'm not going to make you sit through this whole thing. Long story short, it's legit image. Okay, I've been shitting on Davey, as per usual, when his horrible and wrong opinion on the IDF. But let's be fair and let me read his full comment. Trying to get across is that I support is not that I support everything Israel's doing. But you do though. I mean, even though you reject the bad stuff, you do acknowledge that Israel is not going to reform or change its practices in any way, and you still support them. So no, you do support everything Israel is doing, even if you disagree with the damage that they're doing. You're not revoking your support to this entity. You know, because of their horrible actions. Anyway, moving on. Okay, what I'm trying to get across is that I not that I support everything Israel is doing. I think Israel has the right to occupy Gaza. No, they don't. In order to eliminate Hamas. No, they don't. I agree they are failing their obligations to protect civilians, and therefore I would not be opposed to Biden imposing sanctions against Israel, and I would support criminal trials against IDF leaders. So which one is it, Davey? Sanctions or support? You can't do both. You can't sanction Israel and then what? So what, you sanction them on what? SodaStream? But you keep the military going? You keep the military funding going? You're such a contradiction, man. I think Israel should be temporarily removing civilians from Gaza into Israel, but I'm also not willing to say that Israel is losing just because the international community is mad at them. I did not, by the way, I didn't give that example when you asked for examples on why Israel is losing. I actually gave 3 or 4 concrete examples as to why Israel is losing this war. None of them were the international community's mad at them. And by the way, it's a whole lot more than the international community is mad at them. Historic actions were taken by the ICC. Historic actions were taken by Spain and Ireland and I think one other country acknowledging the existence of Palestine. By the way, Keir Starmer has put the existence of Palestine into the Labor Manifesto. So it's a little bit more than international community mad. Anyway, it's a real image. Thank you, France 24. Well, international community got a little mad. Are you joking? You didn't say little. You said community is mad at them. Sorry, I didn't mean to put words in your mouth and then make you quote them. Sorry. Sorry, Davey. Israel does not have unilateral justification like this. This is fiercely impacting the entire world. It's not just, it's a failure of religious law. It's a failure of everything. So here we go. Last little bit. We got to talk about, thank you, Davey. Thank you for these clips. Thank you for participation. And quite frankly, thank you, Davey, for your honesty. Like I said, most conservatives don't have the balls. You know, they don't have the fucking guts to stand up and defend these atrocities in the way that you do. Okay, and in a way, it's an honesty. In a way, it's honesty. So I do respect that. So thank you, Davey, for your opinions and having the guts to express them. So, and thank you as well for these links. Of course, I vehemently disagree with you, but there is, bizarrely, a shred of respect that I have for you for having the guts to say something so horrible. Just in, heavy Israeli bombardment of South Lebanon ongoing. Video of strikes in town of Beirut, Yahoun, producing big fires on impact, follows a day of intense border clashes, threats of a new front. We don't know. I don't know. I don't want to make a prediction on this because I don't think Israel really wants. I think Bibi, you know, there's some it's advantageous for Bibi, but I don't even know, man. Like, it might be more advantageous for Bibi to respond like this and then kind of let it settle, kind of like with Iran, right? Where he fucking annihilates them, takes out a major military target, you know, a person high up in the hierarchy, and then Iran kind of meekly responds, knowing their shit's going to get shot down. And that's kind of a power move, right, for Bibi. For, you know, it's like, hey, they you know, they thought they could fuck with us. We fucked with them back, and then they shut the fuck up, right? So it's kind of a power move there. Maybe that's the kind of ideal situation for Bibi. I don't know if a full-scale war is really going to be the boon, you know, for Bibi. You know what I mean? Is that they don't lack guns. Yeah, Sovereign, that is correct. I'm sure Davey has some sweet pieces. Davey, why don't you tell us your favorite gun in your collection, buddy? I only own one gun. It's a single shot 22 shotgun I used for hunting when I was a child that was given to me by my grandfather. I only got one. And that's not even in Canada, by the way. I couldn't bring it over the border, so it's stuck in the United States right now. I miss my Grampy's gun.
Wow.
Wow. And yeah, if this... Oh, shit! Wow, dude. Wow. Thank you for following Stormy Daniels Blowy. Hey, you want to make fun of that shit? 34 counts, bitch. 34 counts. Guilty as fuck. 34. Super guilty. Thank you, by the way, everyone, for sticking around. I see Old Growth Canopy still here. If this war ends in the way, ignore the caption. I didn't see it posted anywhere else. This is a massive strike in Gaza. Okay. Is this, you know, is this Israel beating Hamas? Is that what flattened like a 10-story building? Okay. So Israel has done this to 70% of the buildings in Gaza, and Hamas is still able to strike. So they did it again. Okay, great. Wow, another one down. I'm so glad my taxpayer dollars paid for it. It's horrific. Just totally horrific. You know, and just like with Iraq and Afghanistan with Obama, right? Oh, some terrorist used a cell phone at a party. You know, we had some intelligence months ago that a terrorist used this cell phone, right? So they signature strike that area filled with a bunch of civilians, thinking that, well, at least one of them is going to be that terrorist that had the cell phone. Meanwhile, that cell phone was a burner cell phone that terrorist threw away, and some kid picked up off the street or something and has been using it. No terrorists whatsoever were killed. Same shit. Bad data. Now we got AI. Now we got AI coming up with this fucking data. Now, yeah, now we got these, AI programs coming up with these targets. Oh, we know he's there. We know it's justified. Look, we know there's 15 or 16 civilians in there. 1 or 2 terrorists. Oh, yeah, we're going to get them. Jesus fucking Christ. And the cycle continues. The cycle fucking continues. Thank you for that clip, Davey. Back over to Lebanon here. Listen to this. So you see the explosion. How many miles away does that have to be? When you see it and like 10, 15 seconds goes by before you hit where the sound wave hits you. So boom, right there. You feel the bass. You feel the vibration. That's what we heard was the vibration. And then the sound wave. Oh, nice. Old school Smith & Wesson, huh? Used by your Marshall grandfather. That's cool, dude. That's cool. APF-9 9mm rifle? 9mm rifle. Interesting. You can kind of get away with more ammo in your magazine with a 9mm rifle, right? Yeah, VFRO. Yeah, it's horrific. It's horrific. And yeah, unfortunately, I can't show that stuff on stream. Jeff Bezos doesn't allow me to show the reality of Israel's actions, of Hamas's actions, quite frankly. I'd like to show, there's video of IDF soldiers, getting carted away, What happens to be an Israeli airstrike on a significant target, perhaps an ammo depot in southern Lebanon overnight. Is this the same? Might be the same footage, just different angle. 30-round mag. Oh yeah, that's a smart idea, Davey. Yeah, because you certainly don't want to get caught up in a second-degree murder case defending yourself from an invader, right? That's smart. See, I want to respect you, Davey. You say such ghoulish and horrible things. And I want to respect you so bad, man. I really do. But you make it so fucking difficult. But that's some good thinking. Trying to keep people safe. By the way, Davey also advocates for banning all guns. So welcome to the fucking, Looney Tunes bin. He's not. Who knows? Who knows what kind of curveball Davey's gonna throw you next? Yeah, VFRO. It's disgusting. Absolutely disgusting. What's happening to children specifically in the Gaza Strip is really the pinnacle of the crime. The images, the videos I've seen of children screaming in pain. I'll never forget. I'll never fucking forget it. Bleach white corpses being pulled from debris piles. I'll never forget it. And then, somebody in my chat says it'll work eventually, and I can't fucking hold back my vomit at the thought that there's any justification for this, that there could be any viable justification for this. Once again, thank you, Davey, though, for these clips. It appears Hezbollah did hit the... So this is amazing. This is historic. And once again, this breaks through the myth that the IDF is somehow doing something more... special, that is somehow the Israel military or Israeli government, this whole situation is somehow they're better, stronger, faster, sorry. But you know what I'm saying, right? This myth that Israel is somehow doing it better or they're just better at this shit or something. But here we have an Iron Dome launcher being hit by Hezbollah. So it appears Hezbollah did hit the Iron Dome launcher with a guided missile. This is the first time I've observed an Iron Dome launcher being hit. Separately, Palestinian terrorist groups have been trying to do this for years, but I've never seen evidence they were successful. Palestinian terrorist. It's funny. I mean, what is the difference between a Palestinian terrorist and a Palestinian resistance member? I guess it would be supporting October 7th, right? It's like, well, we want to fight back. We disagree with Israel. We will shoot back. We will pick up arms and fight back against the IDF. But we as an organization do not support the horror of October 7th. I guess that would be it. That would be the difference between a Palestinian terrorist group and a Palestinian resistance group. I think that would be it. That would be a pretty clear delineation. But it's just kind of funny because it's like, that's what I'm saying. Like, you know, I just showed that image of that child on the beach who's like, I want to die. You know, I'm an 8-year-old child and I want to die. Well, that child turns into a 16, 17-year-old, if he's lucky, by the way, and he picks up arms against the IDF. So now he's a terrorist, right? Yes, according to a lot of bad actors that support Israel, according to a lot of government people that support this brutality, yep, they are now a terrorist. And it's like, you're telling me if the situation was being replicated in Ohio, was being replicated in Kentucky, and there was a little Gaza Strip in Kentucky, and red-blooded Americans were standing up against the invading army coming in, you would agree with that classification that that person who was pushed up into the corner, whose entire childhood was mired in war, and he picks up arms against his oppressor, he's now the terrorist. It's like, well, it's more complicated. Why? Because he's white? What's the difference? I'm not justifying Hamas. I'm not justifying October 7th. I think not only was it atrocious, it was counterproductive and strategically a massive blunder. I've said it before, I'll say it again. Hamas is holding the people of Palestine hostage. They are not a legitimate government. And the reason why we continue to see the IDF in Israel treat Hamas like a legitimate government is because it benefits this endeavor. It justifies things to think, oh, well, the Palestinians made a democratic decision 20 years ago. Haven't had a single election since. And by the way, majority of the children that were the majority of the population 20 years ago are now adults that did not participate in that vote. We only see fathers cursing Hamas with every ounce of their energy, as their martyred children is wheeled into the hospital. But no, it's the Hamas government. It's the Hamas army, Hamas military that we're fighting. Anyway, unprecedented. Iron Dome getting hit. Israel is not immune. And, this idea that they're infallible and they somehow have the magic sauce to do this and no other country can't is a lie. And this is Hezbollah propaganda. Let's be clear about that. Fucking Call of Duty music. Jesus Christ. But yeah, this is pretty interesting. Hamas has apparently been trying to do this. Other, Palestinian resistance groups and terrorist groups, I'm sure there are other groups inside Palestine that agree with October 7th, but don't necessarily agree with all of Hamas. I'm sure it's very complicated, I bet. Very tribal. But they have been unsuccessful in striking Iron Dome. Looks like Hezbollah has been successful in that. Think of the recent debate much better than the last one. Wait, there was a new debate, Leon? There was a second one? Keir Starmer versus Sunak? There was a second one? What? They happened back to back? One right after the other? What? What are you talking about, Leon? Leon over here talking about, we're only talking about Gaza, Israel. Leon over here just like, hey, you want to talk about UK politics really quick? Yeah, today, 7:30 to 9. Okay, I guess I'll have to report on this on Friday. I'm going to be busy tomorrow. Oh wait, today is Friday? Okay, I guess I'm going to have to talk about this tomorrow then. Okay, Davey, only because I don't know, Davey, only because I respect the links that you give me in the Discord. I'll show this one. Oh, so here's the result of the Iron Dome strike. So they took it out. Can we talk about the Swedish pilot really quick? Yeah, just really quick. But no, well, there you go. Well, thank you, Davey, for that follow-up. There you go. That's a hit right there. That takes the whole thing out right there. And look, it's, Israel should be worried about this, man. You're not infallible. You're not untouchable. And you're quickly losing international support. So you're going to be out here, kicking the beehive, and then you're going to be isolated. And that, all of this leads to more death. All of this leads to more death. Wow, look at all these people sticking around. We got Lizzie Mallow, we got Old Growth Company, we got Davey, we got Woke Patriot, we got Chem Goblin, we got all you go, Kissing Gonzo. All you guys are great. Leon, thank you for coming back. Vfro, Leon, I'm going to cover the debate tomorrow, the UK debate tomorrow, okay? I promise. We'll cover that. I can't believe they did it back to back. You don't even let this shit breathe? I don't know. I don't know if I hate that or if I kind of like that. Your hat is great, sir. Well, thank you, Old Growth Canopy. You seem to be a stylish son of a bitch yourself. But yeah, we'll cover that tomorrow. I can't believe back-to-back debates, huh? Okay, that's UK, baby. All right, so my last video today, featuring Mehdi Hassan and his new media organization, Zateo. I'm not jealous at all. Hit me up. I'm not jealous. Hit me up. But Zateo over here kicking ass. Mehdi Hassan not skipping a beat, getting right back to it, not allowing his, getting kicked out of mainstream media for daring to tell the truth to an IDF, to a person supporting Israel and IDF. I think it was a general or something. So he gets kicked off, but he's back, folks. I just noticed you were wearing a hat under your headset. This is so funny. It is? Is that funny? I don't know. You guys are adorable. This stream would suck ass without you. Straight up. Even you, Davey. Even you. Davey over here stirring the pot. I know. Patreon. Okay. I had a big inspiration yesterday driving the car. I know how I've been brain locked when it comes to the Patreon about how I want to do it. I've figured it out. I'm going to be working on it. It's happening. Patreon happening very soon. Stay tuned. Okay, but final clip of the day, Mehdi Hassan, Zateo, kicking ass. He's great. Call me. Quote, what have the Democrats become? Mehdi slams the silencing of Palestinian child deaths. You always need a little pause. It helps. But, I'd rather not. I'd rather not have a person justifying the carnage. But, okay. That's not politics, right? Suck it up, because that's not politics. There's always got to be one. There's always got to be fucking one. All right, but Mehdi Hassan over here talking about the failure, and we're seeing this in the UK as well. With that said, Labour Party, no comparison when it comes to this subject to American neoliberals. Like I said before, Leon, I'm not sure if you were here, but I talked about how Keir Starmer has put acknowledging Palestine in the Labour manifesto, which, look, manifestos, promises by politicians, right? Come on, right? I get it. But it's still, that's a promise that he will be held to. So once he gets into power, and it's a very good chance that Keir Starmer from the Labour Party is going to win in the UK. Once he gets into office, you made that promise. Where's the statehood? Come on, Keir. That's a big deal. That's a big deal, and you got to give props to Keir Starmer for that. But over here in the United States, it's a whole lot of, because we're Joe Biden partisans, because we're DNC neoliberal partisans. Ooh, we don't want to talk about that. Ooh, it's that's unfortunate. Oh, I'm my heart's in the right place and thoughts and prayers. That's what we're seeing from the so-called left in the United States. We have the squad, we got the AOCs, we got the Rashida Tlaibs making firm statements about what they agree with, but the neoliberal Democrat consensus is, ooh, it's election year, that's hard, that's tough, we don't want to talk about it. Coward, pussy-ass bullshit, when they should be standing up for humanity. But they're still cowed.
Cool it with the anti-Semitic remarks.
Still cowed. Even now, when the entire facade has been destroyed, and you've never been more supported when you stand up against Israel's brutal actions against the Palestinians. They're still, ooh, Hakeem Jeffries, ooh, I don't know, ooh, we should really wait for Israel's permission to acknowledge the existence of Palestine. Even now, yeah, we've learned nothing. Yeah, we're not really leaders. We just kind of react to stuff. Yeah, ooh, right, Lizzie? Yeah, cowards. Now is the time. It's never been a better time to stand for humanity, to stand for Palestinian statehood. But yeah, neoliberals. Ooh. I saw a sign yesterday while I was driving around that perfectly encapsulated everything wrong with the neoliberals. This is what it was. It was a sign, you know, it was like at an intersection, right? And it was a sign that said, "Do not feed the panhandlers." And then below that sign, it said, you know, please, it said this, please consider donating to organizations that will help. And that perfectly explains the neoliberals right there. No, you're not allowed to help people directly. Please put your resources into organizations that are failing to help people directly. And this is a solution. This sign. That's all we got that's all we got. Don't feed the birds. Consider donating that money or that resource to organizations that may or may not help feed the birds. We don't know. What about you fixing the problem? Neoliberals, well, we put up a sign. I mean, it's the best we can do, right? Have you thought about maybe, you know, fixing the economic and class issues that creates poverty that would encourage someone to maybe panhandle on the side of the street? We put up a sign. It's up there. Perfectly encapsulated everything wrong with the neoliberals in Canada right now. Anyway, back to this. What have Democrats become? Mehdi Hassan slams the silencing of Palestinian child deaths. 3-minute clip. Zateo, call me daddy. Come on, baby. Please legitimize me.
Picture the scene. You're an experienced and respected lawyer and public health expert who has been working on contract for the United States
I'm sorry, I'm interrupting. Woke Patriot with a funny joke. Ooh-wee! Like poopy butthole. Ooh-wee! Oh, that's bad. Oh, whoopsie-daisy. I can't do the poopy butthole voice, but that is perfect. All right, back to it. Mehdi Hassan, call me daddy. Bye.
Picture the scene. You're an experienced and respected lawyer and public health expert who has been working on contract for the United States Agency for International Development, for USAID, for the past 4 years. You prepare a presentation on maternal and child mortality among Palestinians in Gaza for a small USAID conference in Washington, D.C. You draw on data from the UN and the World Health Organization for your presentation, but one of your slides gets flagged by officials at your department. The one that talks about international humanitarian law and not targeting civilians or healthcare workers. It's inappropriate, they say, so you take it out. You also take out all references to Palestine at their request. And yet, USAID still cancels your presentation at that conference. And then you're told you can either resign from the department or be terminated over personality differences. That's what happened to a senior USAID advisor, a contractor called Alexander Smith, according to reporting from The Intercept and The Guardian. Smith told The Intercept that his presentation did not mention Israel specifically and that, quote, I wasn't planning to stand up and yell Israel's committing genocide. I was stating the laws. The Guardian also reported that Smith was given a choice between resignation and dismissal for wanting to talk about Palestinian child and maternal mortality.
No, and look, and I've talked about this in the Discord when it comes to, you know, so Keir Starmer putting that in the manifesto is great, but it's I do not see all the I'm applying this generalization to all Western democracies. I do not see the appetite, the leadership necessary to make the hard decisions about this case, to pick one side or the other, and substantively punish Israel, right? With that, you know, no more support. We're not going to come to your rescue. If you get tangled up in Lebanon, I think if Israel were to be attacked, you know, Nakba style, were to be attacked by an Arab coalition, I think the entire Western they wouldn't lead. You know, I'm not saying that, you know, Israel necessarily deserves to be annihilated or anything like that, but I'm just talking about making real substantive changes to policy pertaining to Israel. I don't see any appetite to do any of that legitimately. What I do see happening is a lot of shit like this. Well, let's change the definition of apartheid. Let's change the definition of words. Let's just not even mention it. Just don't even mention it. We'll fire you if you mention it. Just don't even. It's just not even happening. Just full on denial. If we don't talk about it, we don't get bad press for it, and you know, what you're kind of doing is you're kind of, you know, creating a space for these crimes to continue to be committed.
For wanting to talk about Palestinian child and maternal mortality. And it quotes from his resignation letter to the head of USAID, Samantha Power. I cannot do my job in an environment in which specific people cannot be acknowledged.
I mean, Leon talking about charity, I agree with your statements there. I think we could have both, because it's like, I don't want a world without charity. I don't want a world that, you know, doesn't, you know, where charity doesn't happen. But, you know, charity, just like tipping, you know, tipping is not a replacement for real wages, for people getting paid real money, you know, a fair and living wage. That a tip isn't a replace for that. Same thing over here. Charity is not an adequate replacement for sound, smart, efficient government policy.
Fully human, or where gender and human rights principles apply to some, but not to others.
Sorry,
fully
I interrupted
cannot do my job
Let's
in an
go back.
environment. Resignation letter to the head of USAID.
Let's hear this guy's
Samantha
letter.
Power.
Uninterrupted.
I cannot do my job in an environment in which specific people cannot be acknowledged as fully human, or where gender and human rights principles apply to some, but not to others, depending on their race. Wow. What have we become as a country?
Statement.
What have the Democrats become as a party if a public health official in the Biden administration's U.S. Agency for International Development cannot give a presentation on Palestinian child and maternal mortality, cannot put up a slide on international humanitarian law, and loses his job for trying to do so?
Wow.
Samantha Power was once a respected scholar on genocide, and now she runs a department that silences, that ends the careers of people trying to talk about the health of Palestinian children.
Yep. Sounds like neoliberalism to me. Right? Remember, Barack Obama was a constitutional fucking scholar. And he looked at the egregious extension of the power of the executive branch done by the Bush administration, justified after 9/11, and he said, make that shit legal. Constitutional scholar. Separation of, you know, of powers, right? Doesn't mean a fucking thing.
Smith is one of a growing number of former Biden administration officials, people who have quit their jobs in disgust at this administration's complicity in the Gaza genocide. The day after Smith resigned on May 27th, Stacey Gilbert, a career civil servant in the State Department's Bureau of Population, Refugees and Migration, also resigned, citing disagreements with a recently published U.S. government report that claimed that Israel was not impeding humanitarian assistance to Gaza. On this show, of course, just 2 weeks ago, we hosted 3 former administration officials, 2 from the State Department, 1 from the Education Department, all of whom resigned, saying they could not stay silent as the Biden administration continued to arm and fund the Netanyahu government. And on the same day we taped that discussion, May the 15th, Lily Greenberg Call became the first Jewish American political appointee to quit the administration over Gaza, saying the president was making Jews the face of the American war machine.
Wow. Wow. Pretty powerful stuff. Mehdi Hassan coming with the receipts, interviewing the right people, you know, interviewing the people that are actually relevant to the discussion instead of just the knee-jerk defenders, the bad actors, the grifters, the partisans. But big props to Mehdi Hassan there. And big props to you. Big props to the chat. Actually can't think of successful government history of Earth. Yeah, we call it an experiment in democracy because of that fact, because of the uncertainty. You know, really, we will only really understand what works and truly doesn't work. We will only understand that once we get to the end of history, and we're a long ways away from that. So we should stop worrying about perfection, and we should start thinking about how can, you know, we reduce the amount of overall harm as best as we can. That's the best we can do. Implement the best, worst systems that we have to try to create the most happiness and prosperity for the most amount of people in a fair and equitable manner. That's the best we can do. So big props to Davey, big props to Sovereign Dari. I guess I'll take you off my shit list for now. Big props to Woke Patriot. Big props to Lizzie Mallow, Wonderful to see new viewer here, Lizzie Mallow. Welcome to the News Underground. Lovely comments. Thank you so much for your participation. Big props to Leon. Make sure you tune in tomorrow for coverage of the UK debates. I guess there's another one. I guess we're doing another one so quickly. Wow. I don't know if I like that or don't. I don't know. It's like, can't we let the other one? It's like we haven't even had like a 3-day news cycle to talk about the debacle of the previous one. Now, okay, we're throwing all that away and now we're doing another one. Well, okay. I don't know if I hate it or if I like. I don't know. So big props to you. Big props to every lurker in the chat. You know, you're not wanting to chat. You're just enjoying the content. Thank you if you're lurking. Thank you for that view. Old Growth Company, big prop to you. Props to Old Growth Canopy, not company. VFro, new user VFro. Thank you, VFro, for your comments. I do appreciate you coming in. Hope you're enjoying the News Underground. Zucker, thank you, Zucker, for your comments. Lovely seeing these new viewers. Thank you, Stormy Daniels Blowy, for that follow. Stormy. Didn't Avenatti get his didn't Avenatti get a little something from Stormy as well? Didn't I hear something about that? She flamed him on Twitter, said he had a small dick or is just cheating on his wife or something. Kissing Gonzo, big props to you, Kissing Gonzo. Gaius, Flavius, Josephus, big props to you. Zio Duke, number one in the chat, Zio Duke. I don't know why I said that, but you're just awesome, so thank you, Zio Duke. Thank you, Leon. Thank you, Lizzie Mallow, once again. Have a good night, Lizzie. Kissing Gonzo, once again, big props to you. And I would like an extra special thanks to Davey for being today's stream punching bag. But hey, standing up for what you believe in, as abhorrent and atrocious as it is, you are standing up for what you believe in, and you are not afraid to let us know what your opinion is. So, like I said, 99% of conservatives are cowards. So Davey's in that 1%. Why is Kanye West? Thank you. Big props to you, and thank you for coming back. I think I've seen you here before. Once again, Woke Patriot, thank you for all of your comments and your wisdom. I do appreciate that. Ribbons, welcome back, and big props to you, Ribbons. And once again, if I missed you there, big props to you, and thank you for being here. Thank you for lurking. This is the News Underground, the most hardcore #1 news channel on Twitch, bar none. You know, fuck all those other jokes. This is where the real news is at. Real discussion happening here. I am a band of nihilism, and I'd like to remind you that the only way to create change is through political activism, aka my simple 3-step program. Step 1, inform yourself. Step 2, put your name down. Step 3, put in the work like Charlie Kirk, motherfucker. The fascists are putting in the work. Steve Bannon putting in the work. Even in jail, he'll be putting in the work. He'll be writing his little, Mein Kampf, while in jail. Steve Bannon. Hard at work. Hook and swoot. But we gotta meet that energy head on. We gotta meet that energy head on and chant kook and swoot to confuse our enemies, to beguile our enemies. But rest assured, fascism is real. Fascism is your enemy, and we need to be fighting it actively. We'll be seeing you tomorrow. Big stream tomorrow. Tune in. Peace in that motherfucking Middle East. And absolutely glory to the Ukrainian democracy. Thank you again.
I told you, don't fuck with me. Don't fuck with me. Don't fuck with me.
First you get the money, then you get the power, then you get the respect, bitch.